Hello guys and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by my joshi brother-in-arms. It is Mr. Matt Turner. And Matt Turner, I did sort of think, maybe we won't do a Marigold Standard this week. It's not like there's anything we need to talk about. Of course, I'm joking, because Marigold produced top to bottom one of my most enjoyable shows that I've seen this year. I thought that Korakuen Hall show was phenomenal. Obviously, we had Bozilla's final match in Marigold as well, followed by a great Superfly Championship match, which we're going to be talking about, Nanae's produce show. And that's it. Absolutely nothing else has happened in the world of wrestling that we could possibly talk about, has there?
We'll be out of here in 15, 20 minutes, folks. We're going to run through the results. That's it. We'll talk about the weather, and that's about it. You know what? I was thinking about this maybe about 15, 20 minutes ago. Since we spent all that time in Vegas together, buddy, and then we had a few days break, we figured what a better way for me and you to get reacquainted than one doing a 4-hour live stream of one of the greatest wrestling shows of all time, which we did yesterday. And then let's record a little bit Marigold, and let's see if there's any news that drops in the next 24 hours. And then we will be recording an episode at the end of this week that will go 3 hours. It is probably our most requested episode of tell us what's going on in Vegas. Tell us what's going on in Vegas. I love these pictures. What's happening in Vegas? And my friends would call me and text me, what happened in Vegas? I was like, I literally can't go all through it. I'm probably going to have to record it and put it on a podcast, and that's what we're going to do. So I think that even though we missed each other in those 3-4 days that you were still in Vegas, I'm back home, I think we're going to get very reacquainted with each other, not only with the 4-hour live stream, not only with the Vegas show, but obviously we have some Patreon stuff to record as well in the middle of this week. And then we may as well talk about some Dream Star Fighting Marigold and talk about our gaze at Julia, because our gaze at Julia and our Io and Kyrie watch will now be one, my man. It'll now be one.
Apparently so. Julia pretty much skipping out NXT. I think she was there for about 3 months, and then they were like, do you know what? Nah, stick you on the main roster. Peace out. And do you know what? I'm not bothered by that. I think she's going to do really, really well. But yes, lots and lots to talk about today. Again, that show from Marigold, the Korakuen Hall show, got me through a very, very dull flight. So it hit right at the correct time, and that main event is one of my favorite matches of the year. Mirai, let's not beat around the bush. Literally beheading Utami with 2 of the most vicious lariats this side of Stan Hansen, and putting on just an absolutely incredible performance. I think Marigold are going to be struggling a little bit because bless me. Sorry.
Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much. And I think they're going to struggle because you've got Utami, who is incredibly over as your champion, your icon, your ace. And then Mirai, who is maybe the most over person in the entirety of Marigold. And it's going to be very, very interesting at this first anniversary show to hear who the crowd are more behind, because Mirai has been putting on outstanding performances every single time she's in the ring, as has Utami, obviously, but there's a level we expect from Utami almost. And Mirai has got to such a point now where she is appointment viewing. She feels like the star. She feels like the person that the company is built around. And, we talked about how the shift to Marigold did wonders for the likes of Mai Sakurai, but arguably it's done more for Mirai than anybody else, because this fresh coat of paint has made her feel like an elite level wrestler. We always knew she was good in ring. She is at an completely different level at this point now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we knew Tommy was going to be the ace. Once we kind of had an idea of who was leaving in the first wave, we knew Tommy was going to be the ace, and did a great job bringing in Sari to kind of have the two of them kind of go back and forth to get her to that level. But we made mention literally from her entrance alone on that first match, like she seems like she's even a bigger star. Obviously, she was great in Stardom, won the Cinderella tournament back to back, former artist champion, former goddess champion, former wonder of Stardom champion. So, but we know that there was only a certain ceiling that she may hit in Stardom just because how top heavy the red belt scene was at that time. And this was great for her because she's getting more time to do more things. She's getting more time to have bigger matches. She's one of the biggest stars in Marigold. I think me and you both agree. She's probably the second best overall wrestler behind Utami in that company. Then again, a lot of people are behind Utami, and not just in joshi, not just in Japanese wrestling, and wrestling in general. Utami Hayashishita is probably better than 98% of the wrestlers current wrestling on the on planet Earth. So we knew that it's like, okay, this is something completely different from Mirai in the best way possible. She can kind of spread her wings and kind of do her own thing. And a lot of the Mirai fan base, they've been waiting for this. If you remember at Summer Destiny, a lot of people thought that Mirai was going to walk out as the pure white belt champion, or again, as you call it, the unchampion partner. And when she didn't, I believe we did a live review of that show, and there were many people on our live stream that were very upset that Mirai not only did win the belt, she didn't even make it to the finals. It was Bozilla and Meiko. So a lot of the Mirai fan base are waiting for her to kind of get to that main event scene. And it's right here in front of us. It really is. And I think me and you figured this was going to happen. Like at this big Nanae Takahashi retirement show, the anniversary show, that our big championship matches, you're going to pit your two best wrestlers in the company against each other for the richest prize in Marigold. And we all kind of thought that, okay, Utami's going to win, and then maybe they'll run it back at the end of the year or beginning of next year. But now it's like Rossio might have to take a step back and say, maybe I'll pull that trigger on Mirai coming up here in just a few weeks' time, because she's massively over, and you have to strike while the iron's hot. Will Mirai always be over? Absolutely. Will she always be red and white hot? Absolutely. But to this degree, maybe, maybe not. It all depends. And then, obviously it looks like we have some former, possibly, we'll get into it, Stardom. We know we are having a former Stardom champion come in because she wrestled just the other day and won Jungle Kiona. We touched upon that just a little bit on our live stream, and obviously we can do a little bit
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously it does look like after the press conference today that it is not a rice company that Stardom will be teaming with, as Sendai Girls made that announcement last week. But again, obviously, I don't want to bury the lead or jump the shark. Obviously, we'll get into it. It looks like there's going to be another massive star from Stardom, probably the biggest ever, to jump. Yeah, yes, Jeepers. The way that you said and how you said, so just matter of fact, yeah, it's Thekla. It's Thekla.
Well, I thought people are going to assume that I was going to do Fukigen Death, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to subvert. And obviously it works because Thekla has been a Stardom champion. But anyway, do carry on.
There you go. But no, I mean, this might be the point where it's just like Mirai's at the hottest she's ever been. Will we ever get her to this level? So maybe they do strike while the iron's hot, and then maybe they run back her and Utami sometime at the end of the year. I mean, that's a possibility. So it's going to be really interesting to see. It's a problem that Rossio has, but it's a really good problem to have, because it's like heads you wins, tails you win. You can't go either wrong with either choice with Mirai or Utami coming off that match coming up here in just about a month's time. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I believe tomorrow, as we're recording this on Monday, I think tomorrow is the retirement of Meiko Satomura. Obviously, and then now we have Nanae Takahashi. She's calling it a career in about 4 weeks' time. So it's just crazy how much time is flying, my friend. We're 4 months into this year, buddy. And it's been a great year for pro wrestling, especially the joshi scene, whether it's Marigold, whether it's Stardom, whether it's Sendai Girls, Tokyo Joshi Pro. I mean, the joshi wrestlers are absolutely crushing it this year, 1 quarter into this new year. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be interesting how that card shakes out. It's going to be, I keep forgetting that about Koki Amare, because I did see her, obviously, because she's still rehabbing that knee injury. I mean, so now we're throwing her into that mix, and I know she didn't want to come back for this show. So again, Jungle Kiona, Utami, obviously your red belt champion. Mirai is the hottest she's ever been. The white belt scene looks fantastic. We have Thekla coming in, supposedly, per you. So it's going
Robbie Meltzer.
Yeah, there you go. It's going to be interesting to see how this card shakes out, the anniversary card. And do they bring in a Kairi? Because she is clear. Do they bring in a Julia? Because I know Nanae Takahashi has been very adamant that she wants to wrestle Julia sometime before she retires. So these are all real possibilities, because Marigold does have that working relationship with WWE. What is that show going to look like in a month's time? And Rob, we might just be the luckiest people in the world, because at the end of April, we covered not only one of the best Stardom shows of all time, one of the greatest wrestling shows of all time, and fast forward 4 weeks away, it may be the best Marigold show of all time in their short history, and it might be one of the greatest pro wrestling shows of all time. So the fact that we get to watch it and cover it all within 4 or 5 weeks of each other, who's better than us, Rob Goodwin? Especially you, if folks, are you looking on YouTube? Look at that hair, Rob Goodwin. He is tip top Magoo today on a Monday. What more can you ask for a Monday to start your week?
On a Monday, exactly. Still slightly jet lagged as well, but on a Monday, it's an interesting predicament, and I would argue that considering what we've said that Marigold is lacking, is that top tier talent. And Utami is your ace. Utami is the person that you want to build your company around. She is one of the best wrestlers in the entirety of the world. And we've said this before, irrespective of gender. But you can only have an ace if she's got someone to go toe to toe with. If, you've got a person on this level and then everyone else is, significantly further down, it impacts your ace. However, in having that forever rival in Mirai, both women are in their mid-20s. You've still got plenty of gas in the tank. I'm sure that this won't be Utami's only run with the red belt. Whoever comes out of that show in Yoyagi with the red belt, with the, Marigold World Championship, it's going to be fantastic. And I think, again, Mirai getting heated up to this level is such a fantastic coup for the company. Obviously, they have struggled so much with injuries. The worst thing that could have happened to a smallish roster was to have everyone go down with injury. And it felt like at one point we were just reporting every single day on a brand new injury. Komomo Minami is now back. She's the latest back from injury. Obviously, we've had Hummingbird back. We've had Nagisa Takibana back, who seems to be just just seems to have improved tenfold, seems to have this chip on her shoulder for missing so much time. It's like, right, I want to get back at it. You've got Kazuna Tanaka, who, talk about MVPs in that main event. We can list 2 or 3, but Kazuna Tanaka, take a bow, because my God, what a performance in that main event.
Star-making performance. Yeah,
Star-making performance, absolutely. And honestly, Marigold, having come out of what I'm sure that they will say was a rough patch, the end of last year when you're just having injury after injury after injury, they're coming out now. And I would argue that this is the hottest the company has felt, over the last month. I'd say probably from the last Korakuen on the 30th of March all the way through to now, Marigold has got hotter and hotter and hotter and is now probably the hottest it's been since the Dream Star, I would say. And that's no disrespect to Marigold at all. I thoroughly enjoy watching Marigold, but I feel like there's a direction with everyone coming back. Every match seems to be hitting with a brand new level of ferocity. Even the rookies, like we talked about, Ryoko Sakimura, Nagisa Takibana, Ria Sato, who we're going to be talking about in that Superfly Championship match. Where did she suddenly develop this submission arsenal that she's breaking out of absolutely nowhere? Victoria Yuzuki, who, again, feels like a huge star immediately. Obviously, you've got people coming in. You've got the partnerships that potentially opens up as well, which we're going to be talking about in a moment. Marigold feels like they are coming out of the other end of what was a rather rough couple of months, and this has come at a really good time, considering obviously Bozilla has had to leave, which we're going to be talking about shortly, and obviously we hope and pray that her and her family are doing well. So they needed something. They needed people to come back, and people coming back at the right time. But let's not beat around the bush any longer, Matt. There's only really one place to start. I know that we try not to cover Stardom news on the Marigold Standard and vice versa unless they do overlap. So we did talk a little bit yesterday about Jungle Kiona, just because I was so happy that she was back. And we are going to continue to talk about that today because it's Jungle goddamn Kiona. Oh my God, this is like Konami again. Konaku or whatever I called her yesterday because I was reading 3 things at once. But the biggest thing, obviously, to come out of today is that Mayu Iwatani has left Stardom with immediate effect as of the press conference this morning, the 28th of April. Now, we did, as Matt mentioned, a live stream of our review of All-Star Grand Queen. I'm going to, again, a big shout out to everyone that stayed with us, that chatted with us, that listened and has viewed and commented and everything. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. But it was announced that the press conference was happening just before we went on air. So we were talking about that, and I think both of us said, Matt, that there was only going to be one thing. Mayu had made it relatively obvious with the way she left the ring that this felt very final, and it turns out that it was. Basically, she came out with President Taro Okada, which is never a good sign, and explained that it was with a heavy heart that she was chosen to leave the company that she has been a part of since its inception in January 2011. Now, she did repeat multiple times just how hard the decision had been to make, as you know, I think we all assumed it would have been. She did put out on Instagram afterwards that she didn't want to cry and she didn't think she would, but the emotion got to her during this press conference. Obviously, this comes just one day after her 2-year reign with the IWGP Women's Championship came to an end at the hands of Shiori in the Yokohama Arena. Mayu Iwatani, the only roster member left on the current roster that wrestled on the company's debut show, Birth of Nova. She's been a constant on that roster through multiple periods of turbulence in the company's history. And of course, we all know her as the ace of Stardom. She's become the company's second ever Grand Slam champion. She's got an unparalleled record of accolades that I'm sure everyone listening doesn't need me to go through. But again, an incredible lineage. And perhaps even more impressively, she finishes with a record 976 matches she has wrestled for Stardom, winning 480 of them, losing 434 and drawing 62. And actually, it'd be really interesting to break that down because obviously a substantial amount of those losses came in 2011, 2012, 2013. Her win percentage would be unmatched, really, at this point if we took those out. Title matches, she currently holds a record for the most in Stardom, 106 title matches, and she's won 65 of them. So a really amazing record. Obviously, she's going to be really missed. She's the reason that I got into Stardom. I know that friend of the show, Scotty Wrestling, she's his favorite person. I think not even wrestler, just favorite person. She's incredibly inspirational. The reason we're bringing it up is the obvious reason we're bringing it up is where does Mayu go next? Because I'm sorry, Mr. Dave Meltzer, it's not going to be the WWE, which he's randomly reporting today or speculating, should I say. Obviously, we know that at Korakuen Hall, where Marigold run there on the 4th of May, Nanae Takahashi has got a mystery opponent for the Passion Countdown match. And even before this was announced, there was an ungodly amount of speculation that it would be Mayu Iwatani. We'd sort of been led to believe that Mayu was wrapping up with the company, and then she wasn't announced as one of the members going over to Las Vegas, which fueled the fire even more. She then dropped the IWGP Women's Championship, which fueled the fire even more. And we obviously spoke about it at length yesterday on the podcast. I would be absolutely amazed if Mayu Iwatani is not Marigold bound. And this is such a huge get for Marigold, a massive get. And obviously, you know, I'm not comparing Stardom and Marigold. I refuse to do it because they're two different companies at two very different points in their journey. But as we mentioned at the start of the podcast, one thing that Marigold is missing because of its smaller roster is your established stars. You know, you've got Utami, Mirai is now getting to that point. Nanae is retiring. Mayu coming in. That's going to be a huge get for them. Not just because that opens up all sorts of tasty singles matches. Mayu Iwatani versus Victoria Yuzuki again. Mayu Iwatani versus Miko Aono. Mayu Iwatani versus Misa Matsui. All of those, please. But also because she is an established name that people will pay to see. You know, she's going to be putting on these no, it's all right. She's going to be putting on these fantastic matches, and people are going to start talking. It's only going to help Marigold. And of course, you know, the biggest thing, of course, is that Mayu has an almost daughter-father relationship with Rossi Ogawa. Why would she go anywhere else? I saw Big Beard Booty Daddy quoting someone on Twitter who had said Mayu Iwatani is the hottest freelancer in the world now. Tony Khan needs to get the checkbook out. And he just put, I can't tell you how much I don't want to see that. And I completely agree. I don't want to see Mayu in WWE or AEW because I know that's not where she wants to go. She has left Stardom for one place, and that one place is Marigold.
Yeah, when Dave Meltzer did his reporting saying it's a possibility eventually she may end up there, and the reason why he said that is because EO's been wanting her to go there for quite some time, right? And WWE obviously wants her. Who wouldn't? Why hasn't she gone? Because she loves Stardom. She's the icon of Stardom. She's comfortable in her home. She doesn't like doing the overseas traveling. So I thought when I saw that, I thought it might have just been somebody that would just kind of copy and pasted something just to kind of get clicks. But then it was reported quite a bit that WWE is interested in her. No, it's not. It's anything can happen, but it's just like we know what is going to happen this weekend. Nanae Takahashi, that mystery opponent that she has, is going to be Mayu. I mean, you can pretty much, write the check, put it in the bank. It's going to be Mayu. It's the perfect timing. Nanae, again, she started this company with Rossi Ogawa. She only has a handful of dates left before she retires. I think she even tweeted out this is her last Korakuen Hall match. It's a singles match, Passion Countdown. Her opponent's not announced. I mean, everything lines up. That's where it's going to be. And then Mayu had one of the greatest matches in Stardom history just this past Sunday, which is saying something, against Shuri, and then cuts the promo saying the icon is now on a different path. So then we announced that there's a press conference. So of course, where there's smoke, there's fire. So sure enough, when I woke up this morning, found out that Mayu has left Stardom. It's exciting, but also a little bit heartbreaking. It's bittersweet because we kind of knew this was coming. We knew that, her contract was up at the end of May. She resigned, I believe, for another year. Then after the 5-star last year, she had an incredible run, made it to the semifinals, lost to Meiko, had just great matches with everybody, every single match. Saida, Tam, you can go Azumi, you can go through the whole Momo Watanabe, you can go through all of them. And then she said, "Yeah, I'm retiring from the 5-star." It's like, what does that tell you? She's hinted so much.
It was the first real clue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the first real clue. And then she was kind of going back and forth why she's staying with Stardom. And then you kind of keep hearing different things. And I'll believe it when I see it. And then you do get the press conference. And again, it's exciting for Marigold because, again, they do need the main event stars. You have Utami there as your big main event star. Mirai is right around there. Mai Sakurai, when she does get to main event some of these shows with the pure white belt champion, it's a really, really good match. But it's one thing to be great in the ring and put on a main event level match. It's another thing to be able to draw tickets. And again, you had Julia there to help out. She was great. You had Sari there to help out. She was great. And then once they left, you really didn't have anybody outside of Utami and maybe Bozilla that was really able to help them draw the tickets. Obviously, Bozilla has left. And as you said, thoughts and prayers are with her, in this difficult time that she had to go back home to take care of a family emergency. And we did get to randomly bump into Bozilla at Las Vegas and her father, which again, we will talk about. Yeah. And they were, oh my goodness, the nicest people. They were so complimentary of what we do on this show and the Stardom cast that we were blown away. We were blown away. And again, we will talk about that on our Marathon Las Vegas episode that we record at the end of the week. So it's you need some main event stars. And again, Nanae Takahashi, she's retiring. You're bringing in Jungle Kiona. And again, Jungle Kiona really hasn't had a full-time schedule since 2020, 2021. So
2020.
So 5 years, you don't know how she's going to be able to, one, perform in the ring, and two, is she going to be able to draw tickets kind of the way that she did back, in 2018, 2019. So there's a question mark there, and obviously I'm super excited for it because I absolutely love Jungle Kiona, but you're bringing in Mayu, that is going to help every single aspect: merchandise, ticket drawing, trying to get sponsorship, because again, she just came out with a movie, so you have that. The fact that she's going to be more than likely probably helping out in the dojo before matches, after matches, during matches, helping out with the younger talent that we've already seen evolve at such a rapid rate, with the Rhea Satos and the Kimono Manamis and the Kazuna Tanakas. All these wrestlers are rapidly increasingly getting better at a fast rate. Now you add in arguably the greatest women's wrestler of all time, still in her prime, coming to that company. It's going to be great for everybody in Marigold for every
Yeah,
aspect.
absolutely.
Again, the one kind of heartbreaking thing is she's the icon of Stardom. And I know it's
Yeah.
completely different Stardom, but at the same time, it still says Stardom Stardom. So again, I know the management's changed. I know the wrestlers have changed. And I know a lot of the factions have changed. And everything else has changed, but it still says Stardom. It still says Stardom on the mat. So it's like, I get why she left. I understand it's a great opportunity for her to help grow another company the way that she did with Stardom. You're right. She has done everything, over there. Could she have stayed there? Sure. It's just like when these rumors were happening at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, a lot of people were like, well, Matt, she's already done everything in Stardom. And I was like, so she should leave because of that? It's like Randy Orton's done everything in WWE. Like, so should he go to AEW or do the indies? Like, no, you might just want to stay there because the roster's ever, changing and rapidly changing. But I see what she wanted to do here. Obviously, when she had the decision to make last year, if she's going to go to Marigold or Stardom, she stayed with Stardom for the year. And she might have had the conversation, was like, I'll give you another year, but then more than likely I'm going to go to Marigold. Or she might have said 5-6 months before her contract was up, like, hey, my contract's up. I'm going to go to Marigold. Probably gave them enough time. We believe that her contract was probably up at the end of April. So there is a good possibility this last month they may have said, like, hey, thank you for the notice. Julia gave her notice, or Tommy gave the notice. They went and they did business the right way on their way out the door. And they might have said, hey, we have this giant show we're trying to draw 10,000 people to. You are the icon of Stardom and the IWGP champion. Can you at least get us to this point? Again, we don't know if that's what happened. We're just kind of assuming. Not only did Mayu get into that point, she put on, outside of maybe the EO matches, like the best performance of her career. So it's not like she went out there and she could have went there and had a 4.25 star with Sherry. We would have been like, awesome. Awesome. She went out and put one of the best matches in company history on her way out and did business the right way, promoted everything, did business the right way. So you can only say thank you to Mayu, and it's going to be interesting to see the matchups that we're going to get. Again, it's not officially announced as of this recording, but it's pretty sure that she's going to be popping up in Marigold. It really is. And then after 2 or 3 months after Marigold, when we see her on NXT, wrestling with Roxanne Perez and Booker T calling her matches, I'm going to be excited for that, buddy. I'm going to be really, really excited for Booker T to call Mayu Iwatani match.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is ready for Booker T to shout Dodon Pa. But
what would her name be? You think they would keep her Mayu Iwatani?
No, of course they wouldn't. She'd probably go back to whatever her name was in the Black Lotus tribe. Was she Yuria? I can't remember if she was Yuri. Or was that Kairi? There was Yuri, and then there was one beginning with that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they'll probably do something off that.
You know what they'll do? They'll probably call her Mayu Sky and say that.
Do you know what? I was just thinking that. Yeah, Io's little sister.
Or Mayu Sane.
Oh God. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think if it was a case of money, I don't think she'd leave because I think Stardom would just give her more money. I don't think it's a case of money. I also don't think it's a case of, that she has completed everything. I mean, she has physically done everything. The only belt that she hasn't won is the Future of Stardom Championship. And that's because it was made after she was eligible for it. So, I think it is a case of what happened with Rossi, who, even though after everything she said, which I did think during, June, July, August, when she was putting out stuff that, right, I've paid my debt to Rossi, I think I've paid him back tenfold. It did very much feel like just saying what was was needed to be said. And we said that at the time. But I feel like the chances are that we know that she had a longer contract because of the movie, because of all the promotion that the company were doing around Runaway Wrestler. I think that the chances are she was still under contract, or she just signed a new contract or something like that before Marigold started. And before the talk of Marigold started. So she basically not necessarily had her hands tied. This is how I perceive it anyway. So I do agree. I think she probably just went, look, I will do a year and I will give it everything. But after that year's up, I'm going to Marigold. And I think the way that Rossi was unceremoniously dumped out of Stardom with little to no fanfare whatsoever for the man that created the company. I think there are some things that you can't let go. And for someone who is as close to Rossi as Mayu is, you can't let that go.
She took it personal, is what you're trying to say. She took it and rightfully so. It's a
why
father
wouldn't
figure.
you? Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. You watch this person who has been that constant for her. And we said this when it was announced that Rossi would be leaving and, you know, things like that. We said that the fact that Rossi was leaving wasn't necessarily the worst thing because of creative. It was the worst thing because of the fact that he was there for the girls. He was the person when the ghastly match happened. He was there when Io and Kairi left. He was there when COVID hit. He was there when we lost Hana Kimura. He was there when Arisa retired. When, you know, all these people retired, Rossi was there. And then suddenly he wasn't. And for him not to be given, in my opinion, the send-off that he deserved, that's going to rub people up the wrong way, especially those that are closer to him, which is why people left, which is why, you know, he left and created a company, and why stars like Utami, Mirai, future prospects like Victoria Yuzuki, who'd wrestled a handful of matches at this point in Stardom, opted to go with Rossi. The one thing that upsets me, because obviously we are lucky enough to cover both Marigold and Stardom, so we are still going to see Mayu Iwatani performing at an incredible elite level. The one thing for me is that Mayu Iwatani has, for so many years, carried this company on her back, and this is it. There's no real fanfare, and I'm sure that this is probably what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that, you know, had she wanted the send off, had she wanted the farewell, you could have added that onto Yokohama, the Yokohama Arena show, or one of the Korakuen Hall show, and you'd have sold gangbuster tickets and made a load of money. So there is every chance that Mayu's gone, no, I'll just do it at a press conference afterwards. I'm not about that. I just find it so bizarre that this storied wrestler, the most storied wrestler in Stardom history, in all manner of ways, you know, not just her record, not just the amount of matches that she's wrestled, but for her sheer longevity compared to everybody else, to not have a send-off at all is very, very strange. And again, there is every possibility that Mayu has opted against that. Or maybe they've said, look, we're not going to do it at Yokohama because we don't want to overshadow the TAM retirement, or whatever. However, just like Rossi, where Rossi was basically just let go backstage at a show, which, you know, still leaves a bitter taste in the mouth, you know, much as we praise Stardom for how far, you know, how well they've done, you know, and the numbers that they're drawing and everything, it's still a sour taste in the mouth. And I'm sure that Mayu probably thought that and was like, okay, no, do you know what? I'm gone. And it's actually interesting. If you read the tweets that have been put out by Stardom wrestlers, and there are some great ones, Momo Watanabe's is a particular highlight. Just
staying in character. God
brilliant.
bless.
Yeah, absolutely. She did put pictures up as well. So it does sort of indicate that it was a case of kayfabing.
She softened the blow.
Yeah, I think it was Sayarida who put out that if this makes Mayu the old Mayu again, then I am so happy. And do you know what? That really hit home. It's like it's like social media. We see what people want us to see.
Sure.
And, you know, we've said, oh, Mayu's been doing this great work in Stardom. She's been putting on banger after banger after banger. Trademark Sheamus. But we don't see what she's like backstage, you know, and there's every chance that she just has not been happy, has not been herself. And, you know, to have Sayurida put something like that out and just say, do you know what? I got to see the old Mayu again. That's heartbreaking. to have someone be feeling like that. And again, that's just one tweet. Everyone has put stuff out. Momokogo Azumi's put something out really, really beautiful about how she's the inspiration. She'll continue to be the inspiration. Even Tomoka Inaba, who is a freelancer, put something out. And I feel like there's a lot of unfinished business for Mayu in Stardom. Obviously, no passing of the torch to Hanan. Tam Nakano never beat her in a singles match. There's Kids, absolutely. Starlight Kid's a big
especially
one.
where she's, especially where Starlight Kid's at now. It's like you can understand the Tam one because Tam obviously, she retired. Yeah, so it's like the Starlight Kid one would probably win. Hanan, like her tweet was just like, "Thank you for everything. I am going to be the new ace of this company. You just watch." Like everybody was very heartfelt. Obviously, Momo was like, "I'm going to dig it more into this character." And Mayu and Momo have the most singles matches together in Stardom history.
Saki Kashima put something out as well, which was really nice. I mean, what makes me laugh is Saki Kashima going to follow her to Marigold just so she can turn on her again? Because I feel like that needs to be the thing. That needs to be the next thing. Exactly. But, go on.
I'm glad you brought it because I did want to bring it. I didn't want to use this platform to bring it up. Like the fact that we've seen Julia have the big fanfare, Io the big fanfare, Kairi. I mean, you can go up and down the list of all these wrestlers going on. A 1 month, 2 month farewell tour. Mina Shirakawa. We knew even though it was a stipulation, we knew it looked like Tam was on her farewell tour because again she's wrestling Soriano. Meaning like it was pretty obvious.
Match. But Saya Kamitani's in mid-card tag matches. Tam is wrestling everyone from her past. Who's going to retire? It wasn't veiled very well.
Yeah, who's getting the most? Who's getting everything out of the system? So again, Mayu's she's everything. So it's just like we've seen wrestlers have these farewell tours. Even Victoria Yuzuki had a farewell gauntlet. She was with the company 6 months. So it's just like I can kind of like you kind of wish you had it. I mean, obviously, we all wish that we had it so we can all like, okay, now we know for sure that this is the farewell. So it's just like one, and I'm sure they asked Mayu, what do you want to do? And it might have been Mayu saying, I don't want to do that because maybe she's gonna get really emotional. And maybe she didn't want to do that. Maybe she didn't want to have people get vulnerable. Not only that, but where do you do it? Because you have Tam retirement and Mina leaving. So it's like, where do you stick this into? And literally, like the Stardom fans would be like, oh my, we got to do this Mina farewell. This Tam farewell now
emotionally spent.
Yeah, now Mayu's leaving. Like, oh my goodness. So maybe it was again when we look back at this in a few years, we're like, we wish we had it, but at the same time, we're looking at now and now time. You can kind of understand why they didn't do it. And again, maybe Mayu was just like, I'm leaving. I don't want a farewell thing. I'll get you guys to Yokohama. I'm gonna put Shiri over because obviously she's a great next apparent to that 2-year run because Shiri's absolutely amazing. So. Again, we wish we had it, but at the same time, it's just like, oh my God, Mina, Mayu, Tam, all leaving, all within, 2 months of each other. So it might have been a point where it's just like, oh my goodness, how much can us Stardom fans hearts take? How much can they can take? But again, the press con. She went about business the right way. It looks like Okada. They went. It was a mutual agreement where they had a conversation and they parted ways. Kind of in the best way possible. So again, it looks like probably this weekend that she's going to be popping up on Marigold, and then probably maybe by the Great American Bash for NXT, we will be seeing Mayu. I'm pushing the fact that somebody put that out. Yeah, the fact that she's going to be WWE bound. I'm going to be pushing that because I think it's going to be it's just hilarious. With Booker T, Mayu saying. Mayu Sky, it's just, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. She's on the NXT Battleground kickoff show, losing in 5 minutes to Thea Hale. No disrespect to Thea Hale. I was just going to say no disrespect to Thea.
She uses the double wrist lock, buddy. She uses the double wrist lock.
What's not to love? I think you hit the nail on the head there. You said maybe she didn't want to get emotional. She said that during the press conference. I didn't want to get emotional. And she was almost getting annoyed at herself for getting emotional. So there is every possibility that that's what happened. And again, it's quite selfish from me. It's a case of it will be for the fans to celebrate Mayu. Now, obviously, again, we're going to see her in Marigold, presuming that's where she goes. I mean, I'm 99.9% sure that's where she's going, as I'm sure everyone else is. But it's going to be weird not seeing her in a Stardom ring. Weirder than not seeing an Utami, than not seeing a Mirai, a Julia, because Mayu is Stardom. But that being said, Rossi was Stardom. Rossi was Stardom personified, and he left. Now, I want Mayu to be happy. That's what we've said on this podcast multiple times. Whoever leaves, if they are happy, then we're happy. If this is what they want to do, then I hope they are able to do it with everything that they can. If Mayu wants to go to Marigold, it's what she wants. It's what makes her happy. Go for it. And you know what? She's going to smash it. And you know what? Marigold are going to reap the rewards of this, and it comes at such a great time for them. As we mentioned before, if you can have someone of the caliber of a Mayu, who there's not many of them about, a star at the level of Mayu Iwatani. Again, her versus Kazuna Tanaka, her versus Victoria Yuzuki, her versus Miko Aono, Natsumi Shozuki. Again, the Chika Goto we saw in the main event against Marvelous, those sorts of things, that's going to help lift the entire roster. And we mentioned this on the live stream yesterday. Don't be surprised if other Stardom wrestlers follow. Whether it's one, whether it's two, whether it's none, it might not be any, but the influence of Mayu backstage could potentially bring in other talent. That's if Marigold wants other talent. I don't know. However, just to sort of put a bow on this, because we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, and we're going to talk about everything else that happened on the press conference during the Stardom cast on Thursday, and I'm sure we'll touch on this again as well for our Stardom listeners. The main points for me are, if Mayu is happy, because it's that Sayurida tweet that really got me. If she's not happy and she's doing this basically just to pass the time until she can get to Marigold, and she wasn't herself, like that really upsets me. Because you see Mayu come out and she's this lovable goof that trips over absolutely everything that isn't nailed down, loses 400 baseballs a year. I mean, that's something that Marigold are going to have to factor into the budget. Baseball budget. Like, how many baseballs are they going to allow Mayu to lose? Travel budget, because she constantly gets lost.
You're right. This might bankrupt Marigold, buddy. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. We've talked about how good it is and how much it's going to help them, but
book 4 plane tickets for 1 flight because she keeps going to the right airport.
Mayu, just turn her to the right airport. But again, if this makes her happy, this is brilliant for Marigold. I cannot stress how good this is for Marigold, how exciting this is for Marigold, who at the start of this podcast I was talking about how hot they're feeling, how exciting, again, the promotion is after this slump because of all the injuries and things. And now we have Mayu Iwatani, the greatest women's wrestler in the world, with the possible exception of Io Sky, to come to this company and set up all these feuds. And do you know what this gives us, Matt? Do you know what this gives us? It gives us the potential of Io Sky versus Mayu Iwatani 4. And oh my God, can you imagine the tickets that would sell? Now, obviously, there is every possibility that the WWE will not let Io Sky go, especially as she's still champion. But if you've got that premise, people have said, like, oh, she'll go to WWE because she wants to wrestle with Kairi. She wants to wrestle with Io again. I'm sure she does. But she wrestled Kairi quite recently when Kairi left WWE for a year. It's the Io one that will matter. And Marigold have already proved that they are willing to part with a considerable amount of cash to get Io Sky to come over. And again, it's a one-off. But can you imagine what Marigold are able to bring in? Like, they drew 3,300 and something to Summer Destiny, which was a fantastic card, by the way. Not just because of Utami and Io, even though that was great, and that was Utami and Io. You put Mayu and Io, a match that we have not seen since 2017.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Two of the greatest women's wrestlers of our generation. You're rolling in it. You are rolling in it. And that's going to pay for Io to come over. And I don't like, we talk about it with Stardom and AEW. I don't want to see AEW talent in Stardom all the time, just like I don't want to see WWE talent in Marigold all the time. But for a one-time thing, for something like this, if Marigold can do it, if business can be done, we know that WWE are open to things. We've seen Nakamura go over to No. We've seen Io come over to Marigold before. If we get the opportunity of one more time, Io and Mayu, it's got to be done because this is your opportunity to do it. And again, you know you're going to sell tickets because underneath that as well, you look at who is underneath that now. Utami's a better wrestler than she was a year ago. Mirai is a better wrestler than she was a year ago. Miko Aono is a better wrestler than she was a year ago. Sakurai, Victoria Yuzuki, Kazuna Tanaka. All of these wrestlers are better wrestlers and they're more established as well, especially those last ones that we mentioned. It's a very, very exciting time. It really, really is. And this is before she's turned up. You may not turn up.
Yeah.
She might go to AEW. And we're
Tokyo
all like,
Joshi Pro.
Exactly. I will just say, though, like, just before I throw to you, Matt, and we wrap this up.
Sure.
In my eyes, there's no way she goes to America simply because she's already stated that she doesn't like the travel. She is a home bird, as she has mentioned many times in interviews. She loves her dog. She loves her cat. There's not a chance her dog paw prints are all over her gear. She's not leaving her dog. And the chances are she's not flying the dog over. So again, and that dog is adorable. It's like we don't see much of Mayu's personal life on social media. The dog, I feel like we see more on social media than her, and that dog is adorable. As long as she's happy, I am happy wherever she goes. But if she goes to Marigold, which is what we all think is going to happen, who boy brings Marigold to a new level?
Just two quick things, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll get to these shows. I just realized it was their last match. They went to a draw in the Cinderella semifinals. That's how.
Does that count? Really?
Yeah, it's a great match.
Really?
It's a great match. It's one of the best Cinderella tournament matches of all time.
The trilogy. I refuse to.
I'm just saying.
It's not added to the law, Matt Turner.
I'm just saying. I think when me and Andy Header did our roundtable discussion of our favorite 5-star matches, I think that finished 1 or 2 for me. But anywho, and we're talking about potential matchups if they can get Io over. The one matchup that is more reality than anything. You want to talk about trilogies? Takumi Iroha.
Again, yes. And that's not like, again, the WWE thing is I don't want to see WWE wrestlers for the sake of WWE wrestlers. If it makes sense, like with the Io thing, then absolutely. But ultimately, it's going to cost Marigold money to bring them over. This feud with Marvelous, which is tremendous, then that makes perfect sense. It's not going to cost Marigold an arm and a leg to bring Takumi Iroha in for a singles match. And again, you think about what that's going to do. People are going to be like, yes, please. Absolutely. And again, if Marigold come over for New Orleans, then maybe we have to go to New Orleans. Who knows? But yeah, Matt, is there anything you want to add just before we hit this on the head and chat about a couple of other things before we go into these 3 shows?
No, brother. I think we hit on everything there. Obviously, this will be an ongoing story, and very much there's a good possibility that when we do the Marigold Standard next week, we will be talking about Mayu and Nanae Takahashi. So, and then maybe we do have, because I believe some of the Marvelous wrestlers on said show. So you can set up Mayu versus some of the Marvelous wrestlers right then and there. So next week's episode, my man, is going to be and this week's episode, don't get me wrong, folks, is going to be fun. I feel it in my bones. I feel that we're just going to have a fun episode, but next week's episode can be really historical. It
could be, absolutely. And again, whatever makes Mayu Iwatani happy. And hopefully all the rest of the wrestlers at Stardom are going to be okay, because I know that Sayarita was obviously struggling to keep it together during All-Star Grand Queen and presumably knowing what was going to happen. Talking of returning wrestlers, Jungle Kiona. Jungle Kiona is back, and this makes me unbelievably happy. And I said this on Twitter. It was a 5-minute exhibition match with Nanae. Now, we won't be covering that show until next week simply because I don't think it uploads on Wrestle Universe until Wednesday, I believe. And I know that there's a show that went live today. We haven't had a chance to watch it, so we'll cover that next week as well. It's Golden Week, so we sort of understand that we're not going to sleep this week. So, but the thing, we talked a little bit about this on the live stream yesterday simply because I was so excited she was back. It was a 5-minute exhibition match, but at the end of that match, she basically said, look, I am back. I want to do this again. I'm coming after championships. I'm wrestling for Marigold. And we talk about, people and send-offs and things like that. Jungle Kiona was a huge one that didn't get the send-off that I felt she earned. I know that you say that you don't like the word deserved, it's about earned. And we talked yesterday about how Jungle Kiona had this catalogue of incredible matches in Stardom, and also had, she was Miss Consistency. For a fact that if you had Jungle Kiona in a singles match, it was going to be great. And then obviously we had the dissolution of Tokyo Cyber Squad when Konami turned. Jungle Kiona ended up with an ACL injury, so we never got a blow off to that feud. She left Stardom with, again, no real fanfare at all. We know that there were issues there, which we've talked about before in relation to management, which again, we've seen with the Marigold split. So, but then she went out on the Indies, did a couple of dates on the Indies, and then got another injury in 2023. And it just felt, oh God, this is such a sad end to, one of the most consistent wrestlers I've seen in Japan in years. And it just felt like it was just never going to happen. So for her to have this next chance, and we said it, it might be 6 months, it might be 3 months, might be 2 years. I don't know. But if she's able to get the ending to the story that she deserves, I am going to use that word, Matt, deserves, then that makes me so, so happy for her. Like, from a selfish point of view, I'd love to see the Jungle Kiona of old having absolute bangers. She might not be able to do that because of the injuries in her knees. However, if we're able to get that run for her, I'm made up for her. I really, really am. It's more than my own selfish desire for the matches and Jungle Kiona versus Meiko Aono and Jungle Kiona versus Utami again and the rekindling of that feud. It's about her, and that's the thing I'm so, so happy about, that Jungle Kiona is able to go out potentially on her own terms, which again we've seen people aren't always able to do.
Yeah, she gets another bite at the apple, and there's another great thing about Rossi starting this company. Had there not been the split, so possibly this wouldn't have never happened. And this is a great opportunity for not only Marigold but for Jungle Kiona and the fans. Again, the fans that have never seen her wrestle before, they may, once they see her wrestle, there's a good possibility they go back into the Stardom World Archives and watch the matches with Momo Watanabe and Arisa Hoshinki and Mayu and tagging with Konami against Momo and Utami and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of really great potential there. Not only that, but then if her in-ring career is done, whether it's 6 months, 6 years, what have you, it'd be great for her to be a trainer because of just the knowledge that she has, and she's been in the ring with the best of the best of the best. So this is going to be great. Again, we weren't sure when they made the announcement that Jungle Kiona was coming back for a 5-minute exhibition. We weren't sure what was going to happen. She said, we didn't know if she's going to take a day, 2 days, a week to figure out what she wanted to do. She got the microphone right afterwards. She's like, no, I feel great, and I'm coming back to Marigold, and I'm coming back for championship. So it's like she basically said everybody that has a belt, basically it's a bullseye because she's coming for belts. And whether that's for Sakurai's United National Championship, whether that's for Utami's red belt, it's basically she just said, I'm coming for championship. So now we have another contender added into the mix of the main event and semi-main event scene. And again, it's a wrestler that me and you watch a lot of her matches, and we're massive fans of Jungle Kiona. So it's going to be exciting to see her mix it up again with the Meiko Anos, with the Natsumi Shozukis, with the Vittoria Yuzukis. I think a her and Kazuna Tanaka match would be terrific. And then her teaming with the Kazuna Tanaka, I think would be great. Maybe she's part of that new faction King's Journey, buddy. That's a possibility. So we haven't mentioned that in a while. I had to bring that up.
We haven't. Maybe that needs to be the new Marigold standard shirt, King's Journey. Again, she's 34 years old, which is why I was just checking. I knew she was mid-30s. So there is a chance that if she does get injured again, that probably will be it. She's already said that doctors have said there's nothing they can do for her knees. There's no magic cure for it or anything like that. So, she's going out on her own terms. And if we're able to get 2 years out of her, and she's able to have those matches. That match with Kazuna Tanaka is going to be incredible. A match with Misa Matsui would be incredible. A match with Rhea Sato, I'd be really excited to see, and that's someone I didn't mention during the Mayu news. That's someone who was massively improved in stock. You want to talk about people that have improved since Summer Destiny last year? Rhea Sato is near the top of that list.
Sure.
But yeah, the fact that she's back, the fact that she's able to do what she clearly loves doing, because she took a step away, and you would look at her Instagram page and there'd be posts like, I miss it. Would I be able to do this again? And genuinely, I'm really just very happy for her. This is what she wanted. It was taken from her through no fault of her own, through her knee injuries. And if she's okay and she's ready to come back, I am all aboard the jungle train, as I was in 2020, as I am now. Whoop, whoop, jungle train ahead. Yes, that's right. I just did a jungle noise. Absolutely. Moving on then in terms of news, just another couple of very brief things that I want to go into. The first thing is that we've had the full card announced for a whole host of shows throughout Golden Week, but most importantly, we have had a full card announced for Marigold's next Korakuen. Now, we have already talked at length about the Passion Countdown match between Nanae Takahashi and X, probably Mayu. But there are some really interesting matches on this, ones that we're going to talk a little bit about later on as well. But Mai Sakurai will be defending that United National Championship, the untitled, against Misa Matsui, which, again, great match. Again, Misa Matsui, I wouldn't be opposed to Mai Sakurai dropping the belt. And that's not because I don't love Mai Sakurai, but Misa Matsui at the moment is just on a level. Another prelude tag match as well. Utami, Hayashishita, and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Seri Yamaoka. Yes, please. Miku versus Kazuna Tanaka. That was teased to be set up after the Marvelous and Marigold main event. And again, that's going to be fantastic. We've then got Natsumi Shozuki, Chikagoto, and Chan Yota taking on the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Megaton. Hummingbird, Kamomo Minami, and Rhea Sato versus Nagisa Takibana, Minami Yuki, and Ryoko Sakimura. Some interesting people in there. I'm looking forward to seeing what Kamomo Minami does, what Rhea Sato does, Nagisa Takibana as well. Really looking forward to seeing what she does. And then we've got a three-way Nao Ishikawa, stripped of the guise of Gigaton for one night, versus Irina Yamanaka versus Riara. And I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, that this is a celebration of Nao Ishikawa's debut. I think it's an anniversary match. I think, but I could be wrong. I will just double check this once I've thrown to you. But Matt, obviously, those top three matches are going to be very, very tasty. You're throwing that singles match, Miku Ano and Kazuna Tanaka. This is going to be another really good Korakuen, and the last couple have been stellar.
Yeah, again, to quote you, they're going from strength to strength to strength. And again, I like how they're using Korakuen Hall shows to book the next Korakuen Hall show. Again, we'll talk about it at the end of this show with that main event with Miku Ano and Kazuna Tanaka. They kind of looked at each other and was just like, hey, Kazuna Tanaka's like, I want to face you. I'm still very young in my career. You are the first white belt champion in this company. You basically led Team Marigold versus Team Marvelous. We came up short. Let's help each other. Let's have iron sharpen iron. So it does look like not only they're going to have a match, but they kind of tease like, hey, let's team up together. So I wouldn't be opposed to see them maybe going a run for the Twin Star championships, especially if Magenta win the belts off Nanae Takahashi and Seri Yamaoka. That's a possibility because it's like, okay, we had this match. It's going to be a banger of a match. And what if they say, hey, let's team together? And what if the team that is holding the belts are the team from Marvelous, which is the whole reason why they wrestle each other and now are teaming together to be stronger to go up against the invaders that is Marvelous. That's a simple story to tell, and it makes sense, and who wouldn't want to see that? But excited for that. Obviously, Nao Ishikawa coming back for real, my friend, coming back for real. So, yeah, all that this whole show looks really good, but I think just low-key that Kazuna Tanaka versus Miku Ano match is the match I'm looking forward to the most because what it can potentially set up if we do see a tag title tag title change. Even if it doesn't, What if there's something where they shake hands afterwards and then Sanka and Takumi Roha challenge them to a special tag match at the next Korakuen? Again, there's a lot of potential that they can do. And then we're throwing in a possible Mayu and Jungle Kiona as well. So it's all there for the taking, my friend. Marigold has a lot in front of them where they can be hitting home run after home run after home run. It's definitely going to set up for an interesting road to the Dream Star coming up here. You know, before we blink, it'll be here. And they could really, really be pumping up a lot of their talent and a lot of buzz going into the big tournament at the end of the summer.
Yeah, it is worth pointing out. We are going to run through these cards at the end of the show when we do the previews. Jungle hasn't been announced for any of the Golden Week Fight Tour shows as of yet. I say Golden Week Fight Tour, the Golden Week Rising Spirit shows. And again, that's something that we probably should have mentioned. We don't know when she says she's coming back full time, how in depth this schedule is going to be for Jungle. Is it going to be a full time doing every single house show, or is it going to be just the Korakuens? Is it just going to be your Tokyo shows, or again, we don't know. I'm sure that we'll find out very, very soon. I was right. It is now Ishikawa's 5-year anniversary on the 4th of May. Matt Turner, I'll give you a big Brucey bonus if you can tell me who that debut match back on the 4th of May 2020, who it was against.
I know. The Repo Man.
Genuinely, it was one of those where I was like, I know he doesn't know.
I'm so confident. I was so confident.
You said it was such an alluring confidence that I was like, does he actually know? No, believe it or not, it is not Barry Darso in any of his.
I didn't say Barry Darso. I said the Repo Man.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you? The Repo Man is the Repo Man, and I will hear none of it, sir.
Allegedly. Suzu Suzuki.
Oh, wow.
A nice ribbon, yeah. So there you go.
Really cool. That's really cool.
And then, of course, the final bit of news, Matt, you've already touched on it, is that the tag title match, the Twin Star Championship match, has been confirmed for the 10th of May, and that's going to be at the Osaka 176 box. Again, this is off the back of that main event in Korakuen that we're going to be talking about. The champions, Nanae Takahashi and Seri Yamaoka, are going to be taking on Magenta, Marvelous's Magenta, Riko Kawahata, and Maria, who are phenomenal. So I'm really, really, really excited for that. Really excited. So that is coming up on the 10th of May, Osaka 176 box. I'm sure I've probably missed something, but for now, that is all the news we are going to be talking about. Again, all of that news can be found talkjoshi.com if you want to read in a bit more detail and obviously want to learn a little bit more about what else went on in that mental Stardom press conference. But for now, we are heading to Shin-Kiba First Ring. We're going all the way back to Saturday, the 12th of April, 2025. The problem was we couldn't do this show because obviously we went to Vegas, and I don't think we would have had time to fit it in between everything that was going on. So we're covering it now from, again, the 12th of April from Shin-Kiba First Ring. It was night 10, the official end of the Spring Victory Series tour. The announced attendance inside Shin-Kiba was 272. Now, this is the 11th time that Marigold have run the venue. They currently average 264 people, so it is above the average that they're getting at that venue. It's an 11.02% increase on their previous attendance at the venue, which was 245 people back on the 26th of January 2025. It's also the highest attendance Marigold have pulled to the venue since the third night of the Dream Star Grand Prix on the 14th of September, which was 284 people. Now, obviously, the big thing about this show was that it was to be Bozilla's final show in Japan for Marigold. We knew that her contract was coming up, but unfortunately, due to a family emergency, she was forced to go home to Germany to deal with that issue. Again, we hope and we pray that everything is okay. As Matt mentioned, we did meet Bozilla and Bozilla's dad in Vegas. We're able to have a word with them and they were very complimentary. Bozilla's dad is enormous. Like, I'm not joking. he is massive, to the point where Matt said, "Oh, someone wants to talk to you." And I thought it was Necro Butcher. He was that big because I saw him from the back. But again, we hope that everything is okay. Let's talk about the results for this show. Then we started with a three-way match. Ryoko Sakimura defeating Nagisa Takibana and Riara, submitting Riara with the spider entanglement in 4 minutes and 43 seconds, getting her first submission or pinfall victory for Marigold. So excellent stuff for her. Tag team match followed that with Chikagoto and Manami Yuki defeating the Darkness Revolution team of Gigaton and Megaton, with Manami Yuki pinning Megaton with a rolling cradle in 9 minutes and 38 seconds. In a tag team match, Mirai and Seri Yamaoka defeated Kazuna Tanaka and Utami Hayashishita. Mirai submitting Kazuna Tanaka with the Mirror Mare in 11 minutes and 45 seconds. I don't feel like we see Mirai use the Mirror Mare as a finish very often in Marigold, so it was nice to see that change up. The Marigold Superfly Championship was on the line as well. Victoria Yuzuki making her third successful title defense of the Superfly title, defeating Rhea Sato with a crossface in 9 minutes and 44 seconds. A really, really good match. And again, just another example of how much Rhea Sato has improved. And then in your main event, it was the 8-woman tag match that served as a goodbye to Bozilla. Darkness Revolution team of Bozilla, Chiaki, Misamatsu, and Nagisa Nozaki defeated Irina Yamanaka, Hummingbird, Miko Ano, and Natsumi Shozuki. Bozilla destroying Hummingbird with a high-angle powerbomb to make everyone remember her by in 13 minutes and 42 seconds. Matt, let's go into this card then. As the graphic loads, I don't particularly know why it hasn't already loaded, but let's start with that three-way. Ryoko Sakimura, Riara, and Nagisa Takibana. It's interesting because at the moment, I know we talked about when Riara was brought in, how her being brought in was really needed because that was at the height of where Marigold's injuries come in. But it's really interesting to see just how many people are going over Riara at the moment. Ryoko Sakimura is the latest. We saw Megaton get her first ever singles victory over Riara. And we've seen Riara get frustrated backstage in the promos about her own performance and the fact that she can't get a victory. I'm really intrigued to see if we're going somewhere with this. It feels like we're going somewhere with this. But also, performance of both the rookies, I thought, was really, really good. Nagisa Takibana, again, in particular, even though this match went 4 minutes.
It's a little tricky of a match because you're going less than 5 minutes. You have 3 people, and 2 of them are rookies. And Riara, I don't think, is too far along in her career. But you're right. I wonder if they do go somewhere with this. Obviously, you have Bozilla leaving. You only have one faction established, and it's not King's Journey. Not yet. It is obviously the Darkness Revolution Army.
Money for you, Marigold, here.
Oh, I mean, what more do you want? So maybe they do a heel turn, do something different with Riara. She's kind of like the party girl, but it's at the same time. If you're the party girl and you're losing all the time, might be time to leave the party. Like that would be the gimmick to go with. I wouldn't mind seeing her do a little bit of a heel turn and being a little bit more aggressive. Like look what it's done for Misa Matsui. It completely turned a really great wrestler into a really great character. I wouldn't mind seeing that doing it for Riara because you can do something different. As far as this match goes, I gave it the gentleman's 3 stars. It was fine. Again, you're going less than 5 minutes. 3 wrestlers in the ring. 2 of them are rookies. It could be a little bit tricky, but they basically just went in. They kind of went beat for beat for beat. Everybody got their stuff in, and then they took it home. Again, saw enough stuff, and it was nice seeing Ryoko get the win here. But you're absolutely right. It's really weird seeing her eating these L's, not only to the rookies, but obviously the giant Megaton she lost to not that long ago. But again, it's all enough stuff, but it does look like they may be playing the seeds for a possible heel turn for Riara, which I'm all for, because I think she would really fit in really well as a more dark, edgy character with the Darkness Revolution Army.
I feel like if she was going to be a heel character, I don't know why, she gives me Natsumure vibes. And I think that sort of gimmick would really work for Riara. Like speaking of Megaton, she eats the pinfall here at the hands of Minami Yuki, another one who is massively improving. And I quite like this team of Minami Yuki and Chika Goto. It's one that we revisit over this tour, and one that I'm very, very excited by the premise of. Chikagoto herself feels like she's going through something of a metamorphosis. I mean, we saw this incredibly impassioned performance against Takumi Iroha, repeatedly getting up despite being battered. Let's be perfectly honest. Some of those kicks were uncomfortable to listen to, but I think her passion and her drive and desire rubs off on the people that she's teaming with, and that could be really beneficial for Minami Yuki.
Yeah, again, you're kind of shuffling the tag division around quite a bit because of injuries, because of other people. Obviously, Zeta Steel, Miley Grace, Bozilla, all leaving to go back to their respective home countries. So you're kind of shaking things up a little bit in the tag division. Kind of take a step back. I'm like, this is one that I think would really work if they put all the eggs in the basket and put it in fourth gear and say, all right, let's go. Let's push Minami Yuki and Chikagoto as a tag team. I think they would work out really well. We talk about the consistently the improving of the wrestlers in Marigold, and Minami Yuki and Chikagoto are right on top of the list. This isn't a match that they're going to have a Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express Instant Classic, because you have the comedic value of Megaton and Gigaton. Sure. Regardless, this is still a really entertaining match. And what you're doing is you're getting more reps in for Chikagoto and Minami Yuki to see if they're going to gel as a tag team, because you never know what you might throw at a wall and be like, Rossi may say, he knows talent. He may say, you know what, I have something here. Let me continue to go with it. I'm all for it. I thought they looked great here. Again, Gigaton and Megaton, you know what you're getting with them. You're going to get a fun, comedic, entertaining match. And that's what I got here. I gave it 3.25 stars. But again, Rob, I totally agree with you. In the back of my head, I'm kind of like, what would these two look like if they were a constant team going up against Yuzuki and Utami, going up against Mei Sakurai and Mirai, going up maybe against Natsumi Shozuki and Miko Ano, if they were to properly be pushed that way? I would love to see it, and I think they would have really flourish in the fantastic tag division that is Marigold.
Moving on then to the next match, which was the first of the must-see final 3 matches of this show. The first of our little preludes to Korakuen Hall, and Utami and Kazuna Tanaka versus Mirai and Seri Yamaoka. As good as Kazuna Tanaka and Seri Yamaoka are, this was all about Utami and Mirai. And I knew that we were in for trouble when Mirai had her hair up, because I feel like when Mirai has her hair up, stuff's about to get serious and people are about to get hurt. And obviously we saw it at Korakuen with those lariats, which, yes, I will keep coming back to because they were just brutal. But Kazuna Tanaka, again, in this match, proved that she belonged in the same sort of bracket as these women. Yes, she might not be on the level of an Utami, of a Mirai, but she is someone who gives 1,000% every single time she's in the ring, who is so smooth in whatever she does. And this is someone who's been out for a long time with a back injury, and she just feels like she's returned. Again, similar to Nagisa Takibana, with a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. We saw it in the main event of Korakuen, which we're going to be talking about, but we saw it a little bit here as well, refusing to go down. And the way she does that running knee, and I don't think I talk about this on the podcast, and it's something that every time she does it, I'm like, that's a really cool way that she sort of runs and then tips her entire body into the knee strike. And it's so unique. I don't think I've seen anyone else do the knee strike, the running knee strike, in the same way that Kazuna Tanaka does it. You compare it to like Misa Matsui, who, for a start, the height and the speed she does it with. But it's so unique. I really like the way she does it. It's a small thing, obviously, and it's only a personal preference. But again, Kazuna Tanaka proves on that main event in Korakuen just how good she is at such a young age as well.
Folks, I'm going to show you why Rob hired me over 3 years ago to be on this podcast, because I'm going to give the little insight why she does that knee from the wrestler aspect. Again, I could be wrong, but for me looking at it, she's protecting herself on the way down, because sometimes you don't know the speed or velocity you're going to hit your opponent. So it could be tricky, because obviously not only do you want to protect your opponent, what are you doing? You're taking a back bump afterwards, especially because Tanaka, as you just mentioned, partner, is dealing with has dealt with back injuries before. So when she hits that knee and she flattens out the way she does, all she's doing is a flat back bump. So she's protecting not only her opponent, but herself coming down off the bump.
There you go.
There you go. As far
Still
as
looks cool.
no, again, it looks awesome, but the way that I see it is just like you need
I
to
think you're
protect
right.
yourself.
It
You
does.
need to protect
Yeah.
yourself coming off that. So good call, partner, on that, and that opened the door for me to give a little inside information from your uncle MT. As far as this match goes, we're building towards Utami and Mirai. Like, that's obviously your big money matchup. This is my favorite match of this show. This was great. But even though the main crux of this match is obviously your two main eventers with Utami and Mirai, Sari Yamaoka and Kazuna Tanaka, very young in their careers, very young in life, still did a great job. Like, I liked how, like, when this match started, and I never figured out till you said it, partner, when Mirai has her hair up, look out. Now I'm going to be every Mirai match from today until the end of time. I'm going to see if she's got her hair up, look out. It's about to go down. It's about to go down. She's about to, as you told my wife in Vegas, kick the off. So
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
that's what's going to be. That might be the next 32-bit shirt. Adults only. But they started the match out with Tanaka and Sari, which I'm like, okay, great, because let's see what they can do. And they just like worked a simple headlock exchange, which I like. They're trying to grind each other down with the headlock exchange. And then Sari comes in. She has a nice little spot with Utami. Mirai comes in. She has a great spot with Kazuna Tanaka. That's a singles match I would like to see somewhere in the future. Mirai and Kazuna Tanaka going like 10, 11 minutes. But then we just get back to Utami and Mirai. That's what we're all here for. That's the big match we have coming up in about a month's time. I thought it was excellent stuff there. Mirai really selling and bumping and feeding for Kazuna Tanaka here towards the end, really making her look like she's a possible threat to Mirai. I really like that. And again, what does it do? You're building Kazuna Tanaka up in this match. You're building. And then what eventually happens? Lariat, double wrist lock, the mirror Mirai on Kazuna Tanaka. So you're making Kazuna Tanaka look like a threat only for Mirai to overcome and beat her. That's smart strategy on Mirai, because not only is it getting Kazuna Tanaka over in this match, it's getting her over in future matches by the performance that Mirai did ultimately for Mirai to get the win, which is rightfully so. We want to be stockpiling wins for Mirai, so this way she does look like a possible threat for Utami. And again, possibly they may pull the trigger and put the belt on her. I don't know. We'll find out in about a month's time. Again, this was a terrific match. Again, the rookies were great. The main eventers were great. Everything made sense. Kazuna Tanaka eating the L here, but coming off as the real MVP in this match. I had this at 4.25 stars. I thought this was brilliant. And this just goes to show you how great Utami and Mirai are, because Utami's main tag partner in Marigold we've seen over the last few months is Victoria Yuzuki, and Mirai, her main tag partner, is Mai Sakurai. And they're teaming with different partners here, but still can go on and put on a show stealer. That just goes to show you how talented and how versatile both Utami Hayashishita and Mirai are.
This is something I've just thought of. How much do you attribute? Obviously, the injuries and people coming back from injuries is obviously going to help. How much do you attribute Marigold's sort of not upturn? Because I don't want to stress it like that, but sort of the heating up of the product. How much do you attribute to it being because you've got a red belt champion on every show?
A lot.
So you can build to these feuds.
100%, a lot, because it's just like, I mean, again, let's look at this as if it's a shoot aspect. Like, who is your favorite soccer football team, right? Who's the best player on said team? He needs to be at every press conference, every magazine thing, because that is the main person, that is the main focal point. And then everything trickles down. Everything trickles down. And obviously, we said it when Sari was champion, like, okay, she's a great wrestler, but she's not on every show. We saw those houses kind of go down a little bit because the belt ultimately is a prop. The belt is ultimately a prop. And I know, not to get off the subject, but I know there's a lot of Stardom fans that are like, why are these Stardom wrestlers champions? Why is Aya Sakura the champion of Sendai Girls? Why is FWC, they were the Oz Tag champions? And why are they bringing the belts to the shows? I'm like, guys, they're props. They're props. Even we got a picture with Hazuki with the Spark Joshi Championship. It made it even cooler because it's a prop. That's what it is. You see that is the number one wrestler in said company. She is on this show. We are going to watch and pay attention to her. But while we're already here, let's see everything else. Oh, this Kazuna Tanaka is great. This Mirai Suzuki's great. It basically, this is your number one wrestler. She has the belt to prove it, and everybody else around her is going to flourish. So you may not think about it, but it does help a lot for the reasons why I just said, partner.
Moving on then to the Superfly Championship match, which was your semi-main event. Rhea Sato. Like, we waxed lyrical about Victoria Yuzuki. I mean, and I will again because she's tremendous, to have the confidence that she has in her own abilities is so enviable. It really is. I wish I had the same levels of confidence and same levels of ambition that Victoria Yuzuki has. But Rhea Sato, again, I don't know whether it is, as Sonny and Stu pointed out on commentary, and what a great job they did at the Korakuen Hall show. I don't know whether it's just a change of gear or it just coincided with something clicking, but Rhea Sato recently has been so good and so fun to watch. And that jostling between her and Victoria Yuzuki for positions in these submission maneuvers, and the way that Rhea Sato took her off the apron and the top rope into these submissions, everything seemed smooth and just very, very polished. And that's a huge compliment to Rhea Sato, who again has been in this company for less than a year and has developed exponentially. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I think we knew it was going to be a filler defense. And I don't use the term filler defense as a disparaging remark for Rhea Sato by any stretch of the imagination. I use it in the way that I don't think anyone really thought that she was, Victoria Yuzuki was dropping the belt to Rhea. But this exceeded my expectations massively, because of just how well Rhea Sato has been performing in the last 2.5 months, probably since First Dream. Really good match, really good work between both women. The submission game works really well for the Japanese Dragon that is Rhea Sato. The heir apparent to the American Dragon, of course. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this match, Matt. Thoroughly.
Yeah, I mean, this was Rhea Sato's biggest match that she's had in her young career, and we might be saying that a lot. She's going to have bigger and bigger matches. This is her first big championship match, semi-main event on a show. You're drawing close to 300 people. Victoria Yuzuki is white hot right now. I mean, she is going out there and putting in. It's almost like she has a. It seems like when she steps off that bus to get in the locker room, it's almost like she has a mission to steal the show, to be the
Absolutely.
best wrestler on the show. And considering the fact of how great the talent is on this roster with Utami, Mirai, Sakurai, Misa Matsui, so on and so forth, she seems like she is hell-bent on putting on the best performance she possibly can. And her Rhea Sato had a great match. I love it how as soon as it starts out, Rhea Sato goes to Victoria Yuzuki's arm. And then she transitions to the crossface. And Victoria Yuzuki's really got to use her ever-improving striking to get the advantage on young Rhea Sato. Like Yuzuki, we saw a lot of selling, like her on the back foot early on this match. Rhea Sato was really, really aggressive coming after Yuzuki, like almost as if the strategy is like, don't let Yuzuki to start to get to momentum, because she changed those big moves together. She uses that high-speed superfly style to her advantage to start really, really chaining the big moves back and forth, where Rhea Sato did not give her any air. And then it really took a lot of striking, like the super kick, the basement drop kick, really hard-hitting striking in order for her to be able to get the advantage, and then forces Rhea Sato to tap out with the crossface. I think this is a match we're going to see played back several times over the year. Maybe not for the Super Flyweight Championship, but maybe in big singles matches, maybe for the United National Championship in a few years, because I see Victoria Yuzuki that good. And this might have been literally the first big match we may see in a series of matches over the next 3 or 4 years in Marigold between these two great and talented wrestlers. Rob Goodwin, I had this at 3 3/4 stars.
I actually had it a little bit higher than you. I had it at 4 stars. And again, that's just because of just how much I'm impressed with Rhea Sato's development. And again, I'm always partial to a Victoria Yuzuki match because, again, the ambition and willingness to try new things and expand her arsenal every opportunity she gets. That's why she is the future ace of this company. Oh my God, Victoria Yuzuki versus Mayu. I know I've brought it up, but even so, again, I can't wait.
She brought it up.
She did.
Victoria Tom Holland Yuzuki. That's her new name. We need to do something with maybe her in a Spider-Man mask, like her in a Spider-Man mask, but still her gear, and like, who is this? You know what I mean? That's the worst kept secret.
It was Hype Talk TV, the interview, wasn't it? And it was like, who would you like to face? And she say like someone's coming or something? So, oh no, someone I can't mention. And everyone went, well, that's Mayu, isn't it? But again, like, oh no, who is the biggest influence? And she said, like, someone who's really influenced me is coming or something. Everyone was like, well, Mayu then.
And then I think she said, like, who do you like watching matches of? And she's like, Mayu, my big influencer. Whatever you just said, something like that.
Everyone's like, oh, Victoria. Oh, Victoria. Although she is absolutely lovely in that interview. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out on Hype Talk TV social medias. It is brilliant. She is a very, very lovely person. Moving on then, our main event. A goodbye to Bozilla and Darkness Revolution do pick up the win here. A little bit of a stat for our stat-friendly people. Bozilla, 76 matches in Marigold with a record of 51 wins out of those 76 matches, just 20 losses and 5 draws. Obviously, a lot of those in multi-women, those losses as opposed to singles matches. This means at the time of her departure, she has the second most victories in company history. Matt Turner, it's time for another Brucey bonus. Who, in Marigold, at the time of this show, had the most victories?
Megaton. It would be Utami, right?
It is not Utami.
Nanae.
It's not Nanae either. Give you one more guess.
Meiko Ano.
It's not, although she did have, I think she was either second or top of victories last year. No, it's because the Goodwin elbow drop is just so destructive. Mai Sakurai with 52 at that point, but quite the record for Bozilla, a win percentage of over 60% with that amount of matches is a really, really solid return. You talk about people who've improved. Bozilla came to this company as a relative unknown, as she has stated herself. And she leaves as one of the company's biggest stars. She has helped develop this company. She's gotten massively over with the Japanese audience, despite being a heel. Let's not beat around the bush here. She is a heel. She's a destructive powerhouse heel. And the Japanese crowds love her. Absolutely love her. And of the 3 Gaikakujins that Marigold brought in, I knew a little bit about Myla Grace. I knew a tiny bit about Zeta Steel. I knew nothing about Bozilla at all. And then when they announced Marigold Fields Forever and she was in the main event, I was like, oh, okay, this could be interesting. And when you look at who she was in the main event with, Sari, Julia, and Utami, you're like, oh, okay. And she blew us away. Absolutely blew us away. And she's only served then to be even better, to keep improving. You look at her Dream Star run, she was great in that. You know, she had loads of different types of matches. She lost to the Paradise Lock, for God's sake, to Mai Sakurai via count out, banger matches against
She
Nanae.
sold it great. She sold that great. I was like, it was like realistic. She's such a great you don't realize that because she doesn't need to sell because she's the biggest badass. But when she does, it means something, especially with that Paradise. It's like, get me out. It was so genius. And the fact, I think she's only like 21, 22. Like she's so young and she understands those small things. My guess is her dad, Ulf Herman, who is an absolute legend in this business. And again, as we mentioned, massive guy's in great shape.
Absolutely.
I mentioned him. I think he's got another run in him. I really, really do. But I'm sure he's passing on those little things. And obviously Bozilla is picking them up because she does the great things as a monster heel, right? But the selling when it's time to sell and the bumps. And we may mention the match with Utami she had for the red belt not that long ago. Like the bump she's taking for Utami, because obviously she's putting Utami over because she's the red belt champion, main event of Korakuen Hall. She's the ace of the company. She knows her role in this is to, at the end, take those big bumps for Utami, and she did. I think she took 2 hijack bombs, I think, were the finish. So they made sense. So not only is she great at the character, great at wrestling, she understands the little things that not only gets her over, but gets her opponents over. For somebody to do that in her young 20s, young in their career, she can write her ticket to any wrestling company in the world she wants to. Again, whether she comes back to Marigold, whether she goes to Stardom, whether it's WWE, TNA, NXT, she literally, again, in her young 20s, can go to any wrestling company she wants to right now, and she's only going to get better, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk all day about the great matches she's had. That match with Sari in Korakuen Hall was tremendous. Again, put over the commentary from Stu and Sonny. They really helped that match with the history of Antonio Inoki and Andre the Giant. That match was phenomenal. One of my favorite matches in Marigold. Her matches, as I've mentioned, with Nanae, her Dream Star run, but I don't think anything at all is going to top my favorite moment of Bozilla's Marigold career, which is, of course, the Flaming German.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, of course. We can neither confirm nor deny that was in fact Bozilla, but the way she committed to that character, and it made me think of it when you said about committing to the bit with the Paradise Lock, which again, there is sort of a suspension of disbelief with the Paradise Lock, of course, but the way she committed to the Flaming German, that entire show was great, by the way. Mask Fiesta. I really hope that is an annual thing in Marigold. But she was tremendous in that. She really was. And you mentioned about punching her ticket anywhere. We saw her wrestle in the States against Megan Bain at Joey Janela's spring break. And it was interesting because she came out the really cool Vader-style mask. And Kirsty was next to me and was like, whoa, who's that? And I was like, that's Bozilla. That's one of the people we're here to see. And during the show, obviously, Megan Bain has done bits with GCW, done quite a lot with GCW. And the crowd at the start were very much in the corner of Megan Bain. By the end of the match, they were 50-50 at best and slightly more in Bozilla's corner. And that goes to show how good she is. And the fact that she's taller than Megan Bain as well was really quite imposing. Overall, I don't think you can call her run anything but a success, both for the company and for her. They managed to get a main eventer out of her, Marigold, and of course Bozilla. She's had a run of fantastic matches, has developed phenomenally as a performer, both on the defensive and on the offensive, as well as learned a lot about character and stuff like that. This run has been an incredible success and is an advert for those longer runs in Japan that we see for foreign talent. This is one of the best that I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, again, you mentioned a partner on the first Marigold show, the main event. Obviously, we know who Julie is. We know who Tommy is. We know who Sari is. And we're like, Bozilla, this is kind of random. And then it was like, she's the most over person on that sold out Korakuen Hall show, which we'll remember forever because that is the birth of Marigold. And it was just a great show with a phenomenal main event with 3 of the best wrestlers on the planet, Julia, Utami, and Sari. And it's Bozilla that is the MVP. It's Bozilla that gets over the most on that show. And you're just like, okay, they clearly have something here. And again, yeah, great matches in the Dream Star, the great match with Nanae, the great match whether you mentioned with Sari and Utami Hayashishita. Her and Myla Grace tag team was fun, especially her pressing Myla Grace. that was part of their tag team repertoire. I was like, I'm gonna press you over the top rope. We would see even those dominant squashes that she would have kind of on these spot shows. They all made sense. How Yamada would step up to Bozilla every single time, and Bozilla she would know not to sell and then when to sell. When was that the point where again she understands crowd psychology at a young age, which is insane. Just knowing when to take the bumps or when to go down to a knee for a now Ishikawa in order for to get the biggest reaction. She understands what to do and when to do, and the fact that again she's a monster heel that can easily get over as a babyface, as you just mentioned with that match with Megan Bain. And that was I think that was both of our favorite matches from the spring break show. Obviously we were there for that match, and we obviously wanted to see Masha and Suzu Suzuki, which was a great match. And then obviously again, we'll get into it at the end of this week with the main event of said show, because
Jesus wept.
how our respective significant others are still with us after that, I don't know. Kudos to us, my man. Kudos
Absolutely.
to us. The handsomest that is us. But it's Bozilla's going to be sadly missed. Again, obviously, our thoughts and prayers are with her at everything that she's going through. But it's going to be interesting to see where she's going to pop up anywhere. And does she do a run on the American Indies? Does she do a run on the Japanese Indies? Do we see her popping up in NXT wrestling with Mayu? I mean, those are all real possibilities. I was waiting to pop you, brother. But as far as this match goes, again, because we talked about the great Bozilla, and we cannot wait to see what she's going to do next. And we will more than likely be covering that in one way or another, if she does go to the United States to wrestle, because we're just massive fans of her. As far as this match goes, I mean, you start off with Natsumi and Misa Matsui. It's a combination that they go to all the time, and it just works. I thought there's excellent stuff there. I thought Rina, she was great here, and she's another one that's really starting to find her place in this Marigold roster. Obviously, you have Nagisa and Chiaki doing the heel stuff because that's what they do. And then you just have Bozilla just dominating Hummingbird. Like, Hummingbird was just like the pinball in this match.
Oh, she really was.
Bouncing around for Bozilla. We get a little bit more Meiko Ano and Bozilla. That is a combination I really, really liked over these last few months in Marigold. But ultimately, it is the Liger Bomb from Bozilla putting one Hummingbird away. She gets the 3 count, and then she gets the biggest babyface reaction of said show, because the people know that were privileged to see the mighty Bozilla these last few months and see her grow as a pro wrestler. I mean, we really just watched her grow up in front of our eyes on all these Marigold shows. But it's really nice seeing her get a send off in a big main event here with all these fantastic wrestlers she was in the ring with. Obviously, part of me, we're big fans of Natsumi, big fans of Meiko Ano. I thought they put the right people in the ring with her, as well as Nagisa Nozaki, Misa Matsui, and Chiaki, to have this really nice, big, great match for her farewell. For now, again, we don't know. She may pop up in Marigold in the next month or two. I'm sure that offer is on the table, but what a run. Great match, a great exclamation point for Bozilla here as she's on her way out. 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, and it was really nice as well for Meiko Ano to take to the microphone afterwards and just say, I wouldn't be the person that I am in Marigold without you. Because, of course, that white belt match was really, really good as well. And I believe that was Bozilla's first loss in the company, was for that white belt to Meiko Ano. So, yeah, incredible stuff. And obviously, she will be sadly missed. Fingers crossed for her and her family. Matt, let's move on, my friend, and let's talk about the Passion Produce, the co-promoted show, Marigold and Nanae Takahashi. All's Well That Ends with Passion might be the greatest show name in the history of the world. This came from Shinjuku Face on Monday, the 14th of April, and it was a legit sellout. The announced attendance inside Shinjuku Face was 503. I know it's a sellout because the Sariism shows that sell out all the time from there are around 507, 509. So yeah, a legitimate sellout, and excellent. Really happy for Nanae. It's the highest attendance for Marigold at this venue, unsurprisingly, of the 5 times they've run it. It's a 64.29% increase on the last time they ran the venue, which was 305 people back on the 11th of March. Marigold currently average 407 at the venue, though this is including the New Year's Eve show, which currently still doesn't have an attendance announced. So if you know that attendance by any stretch of the imagination, then please let us know, because my spreadsheet, that blank space, proper bugs me every time I open it. In terms of the matches on this show, 5 matches, and this show breezed by. It was a really fun watch. Singles match, Utami Hayashishita defeated Zones with a torture rat bomb in 8 minutes and 25 seconds. In a tag team match. Nanamomo, Nanae Takahashi, and Momo Nakanishi teaming together for the first time since Nanae Takahashi's 25th anniversary show in Seedling in July 2021. They went to a time limit draw with Seri Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki, a 15-minute time limit draw. Tag team match, Miku Aono and Miyuki Takase defeated Miku Kanai and Yumiko Hata. Miku Aono pinning Miku Kanai with a double arm suplex in 11 minutes and 38 seconds. A singles match then, Hiroyo Matsumoto defeated Chika Goto. A really good match. Another great performance from Go Chika with a modified stretched plum in 12 minutes and 29 seconds. And then in your main event, we have a 6-woman tag. Nanae Takahashi defeated Mirai Yu defeating Chihiro Hashimoto. Sorry, I've lost my notes. There we go. Rina Yamashita and Ryo Mizunami. Nanae Takahashi pinning Rina with the 1 second EX in 26 minutes and 11 seconds. Matt, this was a tremendously fun show to watch. A really, really good sort of produce final send-off sort of show for Nanae, a celebration of her career, obviously teaming with different people. The last ride of Nanamomo was really fun. And, you know, just from an in-ring aspect as well, some really, really good matches, starting with Utami Hayashishita and Zones in the opener.
To the shock of no one, you have Utami Hayashishita, one of the best wrestlers in the world, and Zones, who's only been wrestling about 2 years. So you're kind of like, what's going to happen here? Oh, the usual Utami Hayashishita deal. She's going to take somebody lower in the card and pull her up and make her look legit. And again, we've seen Zones a handful of matches on the New Blood shows. Really haven't seen much of her where she's been. But it's just like halfway through this match, like, oh, of course you're going to get. And Zones was great, don't get me wrong, but Utami's just like, okay, you're this good. I'm going to pull you up, at least for this match, and I'm going to bring you here because that's what Utami does. She's one of one. There is no wrestler better in the world, not in Japan, in the world, than Utami Hayashishita taking somebody in the lower card or the mid card and pulling them up, and at least for that one match, making you feel like they belong in the main event. And that's exactly what Utami did here. This was great. Her selling was great. Zones looked terrific. They had a nice little power off with the tackle off and the lariat off. I thought there was excellent stuff there. Eventually, it was Utami getting the advantage and hitting the torture rack bomb for the 3 count. 8.5 minutes, I thought was great to tell, enough time to tell the story. And again, it's just Utami making everybody in the ring better because that's what Utami does. She's one of one. That's why she's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I had this at 4 stars, buddy. I liked it. So you're absolutely right. I loved it. This match was great. I was like, okay, this will be a fun show. And I'm just watching it, taking my notes. I'm like, this is great. Every single match was terrific. And this was a great opener, having the champion of Marigold getting a win here. Again, 4 stars. And I would love to see Zones possibly maybe more over into Marigold because she will only get better wrestling the fantastic roster that is Dream Star Fighting Marigold.
Love it. Well done. We move on to Nanamomo versus Seri Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki. First of 2 matches that Nanae would wrestle on this match. Great to see Nanamomo back together again. Obviously, they were Japanese tag team champions. They were WWA tag team champions twice each. So a very decorated tag team from their time in All Japan. And it was great to see that chemistry hadn't gone. It was also great to see this as a match of sort of the past versus the future, because in Seri Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki, you have got 2 of the brightest sparks in terms of the future of Joshi. And yes, okay, they didn't win, but this is Nanae's produce show. It's her show. I'm not going to begrudge her getting, victories and draws. Certainly not. And I think actually Seri Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki got a lot out of this match, which was the main thing. We got a celebration of Nanamomo. We got a real sort of rub for both Victoria Yuzuki and Seri Yamaoka. This was a great match. Did everything it needed to do. And don't you worry, guys, I have not forgotten about the concert, which we are going to be talking about very shortly, the Kiss No Sekai concert.
You're literally took the words out of my mouth. This match was past versus the future, and the future is about to be the present with Sarayama Yoka and Victoria Yuzuki. First and foremost, if anybody knows where I can get one of those Nana Momo shirts, they were fantastic. I couldn't keep my eye because they were done in like comic book style. I love that.
They were brilliant.
I'm
Yes.
still kicking myself. I didn't get a We Want Mina shirt because I know that because it was done in comic book form. But at the same time, I did get a whole bunch of these fancy new Stardom cast and Marigold shirts. So it's just like, I already have 84,000 shirts. And again, folks, you might be like, wow, you handsome gentleman. Where can I get said shirts? There's a link. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link below. If you're listening to this on your podcast feed, just go into the show notes and click the merchandise tab. As I always say, it doesn't cost anything to look. Enough shilling, at least for that moment. Not a Momo here. They were terrific. And I didn't see this show until about 3 or 4 days after, but everybody was telling me it's like they can still go. Like if they want to have a proper run and run after those Marigold Twin Star Tag Team Championships, they can have a really good run. It's funny to say because the Twin Star champions are said match with Nanae and Sarayama Yoka, but they were terrific. They didn't miss a beat. Obviously this looks like this may be the last ride, not unless they do team up again in some sort of 6-person or 8-person on the final show coming up in a month's time. But I liked how the younger generation of Sari and Victoria Yuzuki was like, okay, they're legends. They're fantastic, but we don't care. Bell rings and they blitz them. Drop kicks, forearms. They come right after them. It's just like once the bell rings, we're all business. And I like that. And Nanae and Momo, they were bumping and feeding all over for the rookies, only for them when they were making the comeback. They went back to the old formula of tag team wrestling. And I like that. It's like you have your young, inexperienced, yet youthful, energetic, younger wrestlers and Sari and Victoria Yuzuki, and they get the advantage early on. And then once there's just a little bit of a split second, they kind of look like Nana Momo kind of look at each other and like, once we get just a little bit of an inch, we're going to take a mile with double team moves because that's what brought them to the dance all these years. And I like that. I like that. Once the rookies make a mistake or basically show just a little bit of their inexperience, it's the tag team work of this great tag team that still has a lot in the tank. To me, Rob, I really do. But at the same time, sometimes you want to leave the party early. Sometimes you want to leave the party early. And we know that once Nanae, when she retires in a month's time, where we're like, man, we wish we got another run. But it's not like one of those things that like when I'm on the independents and I see some of these wrestlers at their primes were in the 80s and 90s, I'm like, maybe you shouldn't be in there. But that's not the case here with Nana Momo because they were phenomenal. Again, you can put them in the ring with any tag team in Japan, any joshi tag team in Japan, and it's like it would be great. And that's what you see here. This was a terrific match. I was shocked it went to the time limit draw. I thought Nana Momo would definitely pick up the win here, but they went 15 minutes, and it gave an opportunity for this veteran tag team, this legendary tag team, to be like, hey, let's see what the kids can do. Let's see what the kids can do in 15 minutes. And they were great. Again, Sari plays to her strengths with the gut wrench suplexes and the forearms. Victoria Yuzuki showing that super fly / high speed style. And again, the legends, Nanae and Momo, they wwere bumping and feeding, making them look really good. And it just goes to show you how bright the future is for Marigold with these two wrestlers. Great match. The fact that Nanae had 2 phenomenal must-see matches in match 2 and match 5. It wasn't like, well, I'm wrestling match 1 and then 3 hours later I'm wrestling in the main event where I can kind of cool down and warm up again. She really just goes to show, we see it all the time, even though she's retiring, very much like Meiko Satomura, there's still a lot there. There still is a lot there performing at the highest level. And this match to me, Rob, was the highest level. This was phenomenal. I actually had it at 4.25 stars.
Moving on, then, we are going to Meiko Miyuki Takase beating Yumiko Hata and Miku Kanai. Matt, the great matches keep on coming. And we talked a little bit about Yumiko Hata on the Stardom live stream we did last night. Miku Ano, though, got a little bit more respect.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, I'm here. We're sold out. We're going to be working. I don't care. We're going to be working. I did make mention when we did the live cast that maybe they should have made that match a tag team with Momo Watanabe and maybe Tomoka Inaba on opposite sides to kind of cover for Hata. Obviously, again, her prime was 30 years ago. And again, God bless her. She's still in the ring. She's still giving it all. She's still giving the fans, a glimpse at a legend that is still wrestling. And again, she's getting another bite at the apple, which, muzzle top. Good on her. That's fantastic. Where Meiko Ano is just like, nope, we're here, we're working. Obviously, the workhorse in this match, especially on the hot tag team, was Miku Kanai. We've seen her quite a bit on the New Blood shows and quite a bit on the Sarism shows. She is somebody that I feeling by the end of this year is going to be on pretty much either every Sendai Girl show, pretty much every Marigold show, or Stardom show. She is one that I think that these bigger Joshi companies need to look at. I think she's JTO, right? I think that's where she's trained.
I think so, yeah.
She's one that they need to look at and be like, okay, we need to add her to our roster, especially Stardom starting to lose some talent and we're starting to build up some talent. If I'm Stardom, I would try to offer her a contract sooner than later because she's great and only going to get better being in the ring with a legend that is hotter, being across from Takasi, who I absolutely love, especially with her and Iwata's Red Energy. And obviously, we love us some Meiko Ano. Again, probably our favorite wrestler in Marigold that has never wrestled in the Stardom ring or hasn't wrestled in the Stardom ring, in 4 or 5 years since we've been covering Stardom. So I thought this was great. I thought Takasi and Meiko Ano worked great as a team. Miku Kanai was the workhorse in this match. And then Hada came in. She did what she needed to do. She played the hit so she can get that reaction. I thought this was really, really great, solid match. And again, I want to see Miku Kanai, more of her, whether that's in Marigold, whether that's in Sendai Girls, because we've been watching a lot of Sendai Girls lately because of the cross promotion with Stardom, or whether that is in Stardom proper, because I think that she's terrific and she has a lot of untapped potential. And again, she'll only get better being in the ring with better talent. I had this at 4 stars. I thought this was great.
Yeah, again, there's a theme developing here with the match ratings, but that's because the matches were that bloody good. They really were. And this was another one. This, again, I feel like I need to stop being surprised when it comes to Chika Goto because, again, she's progressing so much in terms of her in-ring. Again, she's not anywhere near an Utami level or anything like that, but her grit and determination are making her one of the most over baby faced on the entire roster. Again, we're going to talk about performance at Korakuen as just sort of a final punctuation mark on that. And Hiroya Matsumoto, who is, notoriously something of a heavy hitter, and I think her and Chika Goto played off each other really, really well here.
Match starts off, buddy, with the big lockup. Very much like me and you.
MT lockup.
Very much like me and you drinking some strawberry margaritas in the parking lot WrestleMania Sunday doing the big lockup, my friend.
Because we're classy gents.
That's right. We are classy gentlemen. Pina coladas, too, all around. This was a match as it was going. It was kind of like when I'm watching these matches, I'm kind of seeing how do I think this match was put together? It was kind of like, all right, I'll do this. You do this. We'll hit each other. See you out there. This, I think, was the match that kind of called it when they were there. And it worked out. Again, that's kind of like where you want Chika Goto to be because she's young in her career. And sometimes you'll have those matches. Obviously, Matsumoto, excuse me, she's been wrestling quite some time. I think she made it to the finals of the Cinderella tournament against Mayu.
She did.
Yes, I have that. I have that right. Look at that. So, I mean, she's somebody, obviously, she was a stalwart in early day Stardom. She's wrestling, I believe, as a freelancer. We do see her pop up on quite a bit of these shows, the Sendai Girl shows or the Sarism shows. She's fantastic. This was heavy hitting. She really brought the Chika Goto, and Chika Goto was properly sold. And then it was time to make the comeback. She made the comeback. And good on Matsumoto, bumping, feeding, selling, making the Chika Goto comeback really mean something. Ultimately, for her to kind of fire back on what Goto was doing and basically submit her with that modified stretch plum. Another great match. Chika Goto, again, we've been talking about it really since the beginning of this year, is somebody that kind of has a chip on her shoulder and was like, okay, I'm going to show you what I can do. And we were so impressed with Go Chika. And again, we will talk about it in that main event from Korakuen Hall. In just a little bit. I thought this was great. I had it 3 3/4 stars. This was just a solid, great show.
And then finally, your main event. I mean, obviously, the main event is the concert, which we are going to be talking about. But main event, Nanae Takahashi, MIRAI versus Chihiro Hashimoto, Ryo Mizunami, and Rina Yamashita. I'm laughing because just look at the talent in the ring here. It's madness. And you look at the way that each one of these wrestles, and it's just the definition of Hoss, isn't it? Like, every single woman in this ring hits like a train. And it's great. I mean, Mirai, who, again, tried to legitimately kill Utami and Korakuen, is the youngest of them and still is just throwing lariats like nobody's business. And it's great. It's such good fun to watch. I mean, Mirai versus Chihiro Hashimoto as a singles match. I want to see that again. Absolutely. With this brand new Mirai. I want to see it. I want to see it, Rossi. Please book it.
This was all sorts of great because you have their reunion of 7-Up, obviously the winners of the 2022 Goddess Tournament, and they did defeat Meltier in at Dream Queendom about a month later.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of Team 200K Explodes because it was kind of funny. Like, I don't think you got confused, like, who was my tag partner. They kind of played it up a little bit. And credit to Nanae here because she wrestled over 40 minutes, 15 minutes and then 20, and they were hard minutes because she was wrestling like, okay, this is my produce show. I need to make sure that people know that this is my show. And again, folks, there may be some of our listeners that may have skipped this show because technically it's not a Marigold show. Definitely watch this show. It's so
great. Such good fun.
I started watching, I think I was like in match 2 or match 3, and then I texted you. I said, are we going to cover this in the Marigold Standard? Because I think we should, because 1, there's a lot of Marigold wrestlers on, and 2, I really want to talk about it because this is a phenomenal show. And again, 5 matches, every single one is like, yeah, you need to see it. I like how Mirai gives the chops, and then she gets chopped by everybody. Like, she was properly, like, from the neck down, she was beat red. Her basically chest looked like, if you're watching on YouTube, her chest looked like Chihiro Hashimoto's hair. I mean, she was properly beat up, but then she gave it with the lariats. Like, her and Rina, wow. I mean, they were the clotheslines, the forearms, the two of them back and forth. And Ryo, she was terrific here too with the roaring elbows. Her sequence with Nai was great. Again, Yu was terrific. Everybody got stuff in. You had some great single stuff, some great tag stuff, some great comedy stuff. You had some really hard hitting stuff, and just everybody kind of taking each other out. And then Nanae and Rina kind of having a mini singles match going back and forth. You didn't know which way it was going to go. And Rina just constantly kicking out one after another. And I was like, when they said the 25-minute time limit, I'm like, maybe this isn't going to a draw because there's nothing that Nanae can do to take out Rina. And then she has to hit she hits the one freezer bomb. She goes for the second. Rina gets the feet up. Rina comes back with a whole bunch of real big flurries. And then it's Nanae hitting a really sick short lariat. And then the 1 second EX to put away Rina Yamashita, the newest member of the Stardom roster. And if you want to play the Ricky Martin song right now, Rob, you can. If not, that's up to you. But because we are living the Vida Loca.
It's fine. No, we're not going to do that now. We don't want to overbear people.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good. This is must see. Had we not have, obviously this Saturday, I will be doing my weekly top 5 favorite Joshi / women's matches. Had we not had like the greatest Joshi card of all time happen on Sunday, this match would have made my list. 4.5 stars, buddy. I love this. This was great. Again, you had great tag wrestling. You had little comedy stuff. At the heart of this match, it's just 6 wrestlers hitting each other really, really hard. And then it's just like, okay, Mirai, well, I hit you hard really twice. Now I got to get it back. It was basically even back and forth. And again, Mirai, who her chest looked like hamburger at the end of this match, she's like, no problem, but you're all getting lariated. And they all got lariats for all. Again, this was just a terrific must-see match. This might be one match that I'm going to go back maybe sometime over this weekend after I go see Thunderbolts to go back and watch, because this was a fun, hard-hitting, right up my alley match. The fact that this match went 26 minutes and it didn't feel like it because you're just having so much fun watching great wrestling and the crowd was into it. I mean, what a great match. Really the perfect match to end this this basically self-produced show from the legend that obviously can still go, because she, in my opinion, as great as the other 3 matches were, the 2 best matches were hers on these shows. She was fantastic. Again, 4.5 stars.
Now, you say she can still go, Matt Turner. The question that was on everyone's lips was, can she still sing? Because Nanae Takahashi was in a girl group. Don't start. But they performed their hit, Baku Baku. Now, the group consists of Takahashi, Momo Nakanishi, who we've obviously spoken about, Mio Wakizawa, who Stardom fans might be familiar with, and Yoshihiro Nami. Now, this is the first time that the 4 have performed the song together in 25 years. And Nanae has uploaded some of the rehearsal footage to her social medias if you want to go and check that out. But Matt, what did you think? Did this make you want to kiss the world?
I always want to kiss the world, buddy, because I love life. I'll say this: there's no melt here. There's no melt here. But then again, when that's the
You
barometer I'm
heal.
using, that might not be fair. That might not be fair. It was, again, I know nothing of said group. Obviously, if you're a fan of said group, this was a nice little reunion on said show.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time to have the reunion because it's on her show. About 5-6 weeks away from before her retirement. It looked like they were having fun. It looked like the crowd was having fun. There were no melt here, and obviously it's not my cup of tea. It wasn't Slayer. I wasn't reacting like how I was when Kerry King came out at WrestleMania for this.
God.
Not my.
Lost your mind.
I know that was right
Between
after the
that
EO
and the
match.
Sandman, I thought you were going to give yourself a, what's it, hernia?
That turned out all right. You got to stretch, buddy. You got to and keep hydrated.
Absolutely.
We're very big
That's
on
what it is.
hydration. We're very big on hydration. I guess it was okay, but I'm going to throw it back to you. What did you think of this, my friend? Did this top like when you went to go see Sum 41 a few months ago, or?
I'm gonna say no.
It's a hard no.
Yeah, it's a pass from me. Like, I appreciate, it's a completely different musical style. Obviously, it was great to have this reunion for her on her own produce show. It's not my type of music, but it's not for me, so I'm not going to bother passing judgment. Overall, it was a fun little reunion. However, what else we found out following the main event is that during or just after the retirement event in Yoyogi on May 24th, Nanae will be releasing her autobiography. Now, unfortunately, the chances are it won't be translated into English, which is a shame because I imagine that autobiography is going to be riveting. Like, all of the stuff in All Japan Women's, the creation of Stardom, the departure due to, the whole Yoshiko incident, coming back to Stardom, Marigold, all of these different things, her public battle with mental health. I would love to read about all of these things. I've said before that I find Nanae very, very inspiring because she's been very, very outspoken about, that journey with mental health. And that's, obviously something that hits home. So it's something I would love to read. My Utami's autobiography still haven't read because obviously there's no translation available. One day, hopefully, it will be translated, or there'll be an audio version that will be in English or something like that. But I think in terms of autobiographies, I'd love to read. Nanae Takahashi is up there, Matt.
Yeah, again, interesting stuff. She's really ending her career on an absolute bang between the show, between whatever she's going to have in her final match, releasing an autobiography, reunion concert. I mean, she's really ending this on the highest of highs. And the fact that she's performed, even if her matches were just like, you know what, her prime was 7-8 years ago, these matches are passable. She's putting on the best matches of her career. I mean, she really, really, or maybe not of her career, at least of what I've seen between Stardom, Marigold, and Seedling and whatnot. So, I mean, she's really getting very much like Meiko Satomura. It's so sad that we're seeing these two joshi legends retiring within about 3-4 weeks of each other. But at the same time, damn, they're having great matches. They're really going out on the highest of highs, and you really can't ask for anything more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk about what, in my opinion, is the main event. The first night of the Rising Spirit Tour on the 25th of April, which, of course, was at Korakuen Hall. I will just say off the bat, this was a fantastic show, top to bottom again. And this is what I'm so excited for where Marigold is coming, because, again, we had returns from injuries. Komomo Minami is now back, which means that in terms of long-term injury, we're now only missing Koki Amare, whose initial prognosis, I believe, was Nanae's retirement show, so the 24th of May. So in theory, we could be seeing Koki Amare back soon. Obviously, she was on Japanese commentary for this show. And, of course, Naho Yamada, who I'm assuming is going to be out for at least 9 months. If it's an ACL tear and she's had surgery, I would have thought that it's going to be 9 months, which is a shame. But again, to have these people back. It's not necessarily just about having people at the top of the card. It's about having people who can go all the way down the card. So it's great to see Komomo Minami back. Now, it is interesting saying that because Sonny actually said on commentary that Komomo Minami was supposed to come back on the previous Korakuen Hall show, which was the 30th of March, but ended up breaking her nose in the dojo. So had to basically push that recovery date back, which was a shame, but it was great to see Komomo Minami back. Just wanted to give a point as well about the tag match in Marvelous versus Marigold. Obviously, at the time, it was sort of billed as a 5-on-5 elimination tag match. It was more of a 5-on-5 elimination gauntlet in the fact that you would have an elimination and then the next person would come from the back as opposed to being at ringside. So it was sort of a gauntlet match as opposed to an elimination tag match. But again, tremendous match.
It was like the Lucha Cibernetico. I know Chikara used to adopt a Cibernetico, but I think they did like 8-on-8 or 9 versus 9. And then what you could do is if, say, there were like 2 people left, like say, for example, it was Miko Ano and Chika Goto, if they want to, they can then wrestle each other. Obviously, this wasn't the rules, but they can then wrestle each other for the ultimate winner. That's how Claudio turned babyface against the late, great Larry Sweeney for all you Chikara fans out there.
There you go. In terms of the attendance for this show, the announced attendance inside Korakuen, 680 people. Now, this is a 25.39% decrease from the company's previous house inside Korakuen Hall, which, if you remember, was the 911 they drew on the 30th of March, main evented by Bozilla versus Utami for the Marigold World Championship. Now, though this is a significant decrease, it is worth noting that no singles titles were vended on this card, which does have an effect. And it's certainly, as me and Matt are going to point out, not an indication of anything on this show, because in terms of quality, this show is right up there. But again, in March, you had the red belt being defended, Utami versus Bozil, and you had the white belt being defended, Mai Sakurai versus Arina Yamanaka. So again, those things do have an effect. In terms of the results then, 3-way match, Hummingbird defeated Nagisa Takibana and the returning Komomo Minami. Hummingbird pinning Nagisa Takibana with the European clutch in 5 minutes and 6 seconds. Singles match next, Minami Yuki defeated Riara with an inside cradle in 5 minutes and 27 seconds. 6-woman tag team action next. The Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Megaton, and Gigaton defeated Arina Yamanaka, Chan Yota, and Ryoko Sakimura. Nagisa Nozaki submitting Sakimura with her rear naked choke that she calls Dormia 3 in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Next, our Seoul Championship match, the Twin Star Championships on the line. Nanae Takahashi and Seri Yamaoka defeating the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui and Chiaki. Nanae pinning Chiaki with a refrigerator bomb in 15 minutes and 40 seconds. In our semi-main event, the Marigold World Championship contender assessment match, bit of a mouthful. Mirai and Mai Sakurai defeated Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki. Mirai beheading Utami with a lariat. I can't put into words how hard these two back-to-back lariats were. 16 minutes and 11 seconds. Utami Hayashishita legitimately sold them like she'd been hit by a boat. And then in your main event, Marigold versus Marvelous, 5-on-5 elimination tag match. Marvelous, the team of Takumi Iroha, Ai Hozan, Riko Kawahata, Maria, and Sora Ahame, defeating Team Marigold, Miko Ano, Chika Goto, Natsumi Shozuki, Ria Sato, and Kazuna Tanaka. 3-2 overall to come away with the win in 26 minutes. Let's delve straight into this, Matt, because if I get started talking about that main event, there is a chance I won't stop. So let's talk about the return of Komomo Minami in this 3-way with Nagisa Takibana and Hummingbird. Obviously, just over 5 minutes. Solid enough. Great to see Komomo Minami back. And the commentary team did a great job of showing, of telling us how Nagisa and Komomo have been working on those drop kicks in the dojo with Fuka. And again, you could tell here with the form.
Yeah, again, I always say you want to start off your shows, especially these Korakuen Hall shows, because the crowd's always amped up with a hot opener. Wasn't sure how this was going to go again because you got Komomo coming back from a lengthy injury. Nagisa is still a rookie. Can Hummingbird kind of be the glue to keep this match together? And she was phenomenal here. She was terrific. It was basically almost like a high-speed three-way. Everybody played their roles really well. They hit the high notes when they needed to hit. I would love to see Hummingbird be pushed up a little bit and then maybe be the next contender for Victoria Yuzuki's Super Flyweight
That was
Championship.
literally what I was going to say, because she's got a couple of key victories at Korakuen Hall now, so I'm wondering if she's going to be next on the docket.
And she works the style really well, and we saw
Yeah.
it here again. I thought Nagisa was terrific. It's so great seeing Komomo back. We're obviously big fans of her, but this match was all about highlighting Hummingbird, and rightfully so. Really great match. The fact they were able to get so much in just 5 minutes time goes to show you just the talent level of these three fantastic wrestlers. I actually had a 3.5 stars. I thought this was a really great way to start off this fantastic show.
We then moved on to singles action. Minami Yuki getting the victory over Riara. And we mentioned it earlier on the show about how Riara has been eating pinfall after pinfall. And here it looked like she was dominant. And the cocky arrogance of being on top ultimately led to her eating another pinfall here. I know that she has got Natsumi Shozuki in a singles match in the coming tour, which I imagine is only going to end badly for Riara. How do you think the performance was from both women here, Matt?
This was really more about the storytelling. Minami Yuki got a little bit in the beginning, then Riara really started dominating. Then once she started building her confidence, she got over too confident, and then got rolled up. So that's the story you're kind of telling. Simple story to tell. And again, we made mention before a little bit ago that it looks like they're planting the seeds for something with Riara. She's losing these matches and losing because she's getting a little bit too cocky. That would be my assessment, that like they're clearly having her lose to maybe build into maybe a character change, which I'm all for. I gave this one the gentleman's 3 stars because it really wasn't about the match. It was really about maybe the potential of a more edgier, violent, not violent, but it's a more edgier, aggressive character from Riara. So it's kind of wait and see where they go. So I'm excited for that. And it's nice to see Minami Yuki getting a win on a Korakuen Hall show.
Absolutely. Now, this match next, the 6-woman tag, obviously, you've got Gigaton and Megaton. But whenever they're teaming with Nagisa Nozaki is deadpan one of the funniest people on this roster, because she knows she has to team with them, but she wants absolutely none of their nonsense, and it's absolutely hilarious. Of course, when she comes in, it's all business, and she's great, as we've seen throughout. I'm really, really impressed with Irina Yamanaka, who I think every time she gets in the ring is slowly but surely progressing. And again, the more we see of Chan Yota, the happier I'll be, because she is another one who is doing really, really well in Marigold.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I saw this on the card, I'm like, oh, great. We're going to see. And she has the worst poker face when she's walking down. And that's what you want. Like, I got a team with these again. You couldn't give me Bozilla. Obviously, I know Bozilla left the company, but you couldn't give me Misa or Chiaki, who I won the tag belts with. I got a team with these two. Like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Again, Chan Yota, I think she fits her role really well. Marigold, we're seeing more and more of her. Obviously, Ryoko is another one, ever improving and only going to get better by being in the ring with better wrestlers. And again, Arena, we've only seen a little bit of her. They put her right in a kind of a rough spot, sink or swim spot at, I believe it was the last Corkin show with her and Sakurai for the unchampionship, as you call it. And they had a really, really good match, but she's constantly going to be getting better. And again, she was really the shining star in this match until it was go time for Nagisa Nozaki to start hitting forearms, triangle lancers, and then crossface chicken wings. Ultimately, I had this at 3.5 stars. You had Gigaton and Megaton. They played their comedic roles right, but when it was time for the hammer to be dropped, Nagisa dropped the hammer. Absolutely right. I totally agree with you. I think Arena is somebody that we're going to be watching out more for a lot here in the Marigold standard, because she's so charismatic. Her character is great. She has aura around her, and she's a really great wrestler. I would love to see what she can do in the ring with an Utami, with the Misa Matsui, with the Miko Anna, with the Chika Goto, whether being on the same side or across the ring from, because I think that will only highlight basically all of her positives. Again, 3.5 stars, really good match, but like I said, at the end, it was all about Nagisa Nozaki dropping that hammer. And she dropped it. She did, good sir. Dropped it. She did.
Drop it, she did indeed. And do you know what? Nagisa Nozaki, I feel like, should be mentioned in the same breath as Utami and MIRAI in terms of pulling the company through that that injury-laden portion, because Nagisa Nozaki was so consistently good whenever she was given the tap on the shoulder, whether it was a white belt match against Miko Auno, whether it was the matches with Mai Sakurai, whether it was the matches for the Twin Star Championships. She's always so consistent. And again, she was one of the many, in fairness, bright spots of the Dream Star as well. So I've got a lot of respect for Nagisa Nozaki, and fingers crossed she continues to work with Marigold, because I know she's still a freelancer. So hopefully she still does work with Marigold, because she is really, really good. Moving on to our first and only title match on the card, Twin Star Championships on the line. And Misa Matsui seems to have got the dance down a little bit more with Chiaki as opposed to the last time they did it. Again, what can I say that hasn't already been said about Misa Matsui? I think her and Chiaki have a really, really, really good chemistry. You've got Chiaki, who's that, pardon my French, chicken shit heel, and you've got Misa Matsui, who doesn't necessarily drop the hammer in the same ways as Nagisa Nozaki, but just accelerates into these moves, has this calm, cool confidence. Ever since this heel turn, she's just been going from strength to strength to strength. And then you've got the champions, who I think this was one of Sari Yamaoka's more consistently good performances. Like, there'll be times where, and again, she's a rookie. She's 18. There's the odd thing that might potentially go wrong. However, here, I felt like she was right on it. She had a really good showing. That deadlift German and those pump handle suplexes are never not going to be impressive. And again, there's so much upside to Sari Yamaoka. I'm really, really looking forward to, once she's really, really, really got to terms with the speed and things like that, which we're seeing more and more, especially when she's getting more and more singles matches on the road to shows. She's just coming back from an injury as well, don't forget. I'm really excited for what she's going to be able to produce, Matt.
Yeah, it's a great match. Again, another solid
Really
tag
good.
match, in Korakuen Hall. Really great tag match. The psychology when you break it down is pretty simple. You kind of have your heels bending and breaking the rules and kind of running away from authority, only for Sari, the rookie, to eventually, when she gets her comeuppings, is she's throwing them around. Gut wrench suplexes, the lariats, the forearms, the pump handle suplexes. It's like, oh, okay, here we go. And then you get Nanae. It was just, you can tell, is the glue that really makes this match, gets it to the next level with her firing up, her crowd psychology, able to get the match where it needs to be at certain points, when to bring it up, when to bring it down. I thought that was great. Chiaki, she was terrific here. Her stuff with Nanae, the back and forth with the forearms and the kicks, the forearms, the chops, the hard hitting striking, that was really, really good. For me, though, the MVP of this match was Misa Matsui. I thought she took a character level to another level. I thought her in this big championship match really showed what she can do and what she can be for this company. I thought this was terrific. And again, Nanae and Sari Yamaoka, they just team really well together. And Sari's obviously learning a lot from teaming with the legend that can obviously still go on her final run here. And again, it's putting her in a bigger light, because a lot of people are more in tune to watch these matches with a closer eye, because we're only going to see a handful more matches from Takahashi. So, and Sari you're putting light on these matches that Sari Yamaoka's in, and she's only going to get a brighter spotlight, and rightfully so, because every time she's in the ring, it's a treat for us to watch, because she is terrific. And again, someone that's only been wrestling a handful of months, but you would think that she's wrestling a handful of years. Really a fantastic match, and a really great closing stretch with Takahashi and Chiaki to end what was, I thought, a fantastic Twin Star Tag Team Championship match. I actually had this at the solid 4 stars, Mr. Goodwin.
It makes me smile every time Nanae Takahashi is in the ring. She continues to deliver absolute belters, because again, you mentioned it earlier during the produce show. She's easily got another year, 18 months wrestling at the highest level. She's that damn good. But obviously, from a less selfish standpoint, it's great to see her going on her own terms, but she's still so good. She's still able to have these fantastic exchanges with whoever she's paired with. It doesn't seem to matter who on the roster it is. She drags them, to their best match. I mean, one of the first passion matches that I remember from Marigold was her versus Misa Matsui. And that was fantastic. It was really, really good. And the first time that I really sat up and took notice of just how good Misamatsu he was. And I do credit Nanae for a lot of that, as I do with quite a lot of the roster, to be perfectly honest. Moving on then, Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mai Sakurai and Mirai. Now, this match was brilliant. This match is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the stipulation being if Mirai wins, she gets the red belt title match against Utami. And there were other parts to this match. That closing sequence. If you can for a moment, imagine the X-Men. I know you're a big comic book guy.
Oh,
imagine the Juggernaut. Okay, now as you are fully aware, one of my favorite comic book villains, by the way.
Nobody stops the Juggernaut, by the way.
Nobody at all stops the Juggernaut. Because, of course, once he gets going, he's impossible to stop. That final sequence felt exactly like that, because Mirai wriggles out of the hijack bomb, hits one of these disgusting lariats. It's one of the hardest ones she's hit. Utami sells it so well. Basically just an entire 360 sell. And then Mirai charges off the ropes and plows into Utami with a second one, who does this another phenomenal sell for it. Covers her 1, 2, 3. And it just got me thinking about the potential for this match, this red belt match that we now know we're going to get and is set for Yoyagi. It's that thing now where you can see if Utami lets Mirai build that head up of steam, she's going to be damn near impossible to stop. And we've seen that here. We saw it in another preview tag earlier on in the show as well. These two have got really good chemistry. Obviously, Victoria Yuzuki and Mai Sakurai played phenomenal parts in this match, but it was all about, for me, Utami and Mirai. And that closing sequence really did show just why Mirai is such a danger to Utami when their title match comes.
Rob, before I get into this match, I'm sure that a lot of our listeners are yelling into their phones or stereo saying, guys, can you recommend me some Juggernaut stuff to read? Roger Stern's Amazing Spider-Man run. It's literally called Nobody Can Stop the Juggernaut. I forget what the issues are. I haven't probably read in 10 years, but literally as Rob was saying, the Juggernaut, the first thing I thought of was that amazing Roger Stern.
Nobody stops the Juggernaut.
Nobody says. See, you get everything here on the Marigold Standard, because that's what we do. This match, obviously, very much like the show we talked about before. You're building to Utami versus Mirai. So that is your main crux of this match. Obviously, Sakurai, you have all champions, with the exception of Mirai in this match, but the focal point is Mirai. You have your world champion in Utami, your Superfly champion in Victoria Yuzuki, and you have your unchampionship, your white belt champion in one, Mai Sakurai. So Mirai is the project in this match, getting her over. So this way, because one, she doesn't have a championship, and two, you're building her up to Utami. To the shock of nobody, Utami is just like, okay, what's my job in this match? To make Mirai somehow look better than she already does. And again, she's a main eventer, but how can I pull her up to my level or make her above my level? She's like, I'm going to take a really dangerous lariat. She's like, no, I'm going to take 2 of the hardest lariats ever. And then Mirai's like,
row.
Mirai's like, oh, like in your lifetime? Like, no. And back to back in this match. And Mirai's like, okay, Utami, you're the ace of this company. If that's who you want me to do, I will follow my order. And orders were pulled out from one Mirai because she followed that order to a T. Obviously, the main crux of this was the finish, because they might have been the 2 hardest lariats that I've ever seen Mirai throw. You can throw them up with the Momo Watanabe ones that she did for the Wonder of Stardom Championship back at the end of 2023. They were up there with those ones. But the fact that she did them back to back, and again, Utami's the champion of this company. She has no problem looking at the lights if it does best for business. Nobody does that better than Utami. We saw it with Bozilla. It did good business. You know, she had Bozilla beat her in a couple matches leading up to their championship match, and then it led to a really good business and a really good match in Korakuen Hall. That's exactly what Utami did here. What I really like is, because obviously Utami and Yuzuki have been teaming up quite a bit. Mirai and Mai Sakurai are, they won the first Twin Star Cup, and they were the first Twin Star champions. We did see some teamwork on Utami, and then it went back. We did see some teamwork on to Mirai. They obviously did the old Aphrodite dropkick into the German suplex spot, which I really, really liked. And Yuzuki was great here, and Sakurai was great here. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately it just came down to the hard-hitting action That is Utami versus Mirai, and I'm so excited for that singles match we're going to get in about a month's time. I had this at 4.25 stars. I thought this was terrific. Again, this show was like solid, and then these last 3 matches were like must see, must see. Oh boy, howdy, that main event was absolutely must see. Again, terrific match. Great job putting all that spotlight on Mirai. Great job even highlighting the tag team that is Mai Sakurai and Mirai, and the tag team that is Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki of the unnamed King's Journey, sir.
Absolutely. King's Journey shirts coming soon to a Talk Joshi store near you. Why did that happen? We just
are you foreshadowing a match?
Mayu already appearing in.
He's already showing up. We beat Rossi to it.
Absolutely. Just click the button once too many times, apparently. Right, this main event. Jesus Christ. There's so much to unpack here. So we've got Kazuna Tanaka, who has already volunteered to go first for her team. We don't know the order apart from that. Chika Goto is the captain of the Marigold side. I believe Takumi Iroha is the captain of the Marvelous side. And all we know at the start of the match is Kazuna Tanaka is going first. At the end of this match, Marigold lose. However, 2 stars were secured in this. Kazuna Tanaka's first 3 performances, she defeated Sora Ayame, defeated Ai Hozan, and then lost to Maria. And in all 3 of those, she was phenomenal. The fight, the desire, the passion, the aggression she showed, that edge that she showed. Literally, what a performance. What a phenomenal performance. And then you carry on through the match, and we're going to be talking about some of the exchanges because, good God, there were some fantastic exchanges. But you get to that final point, and Takumi Iroha, the destroyer of worlds, is sitting in the ring waiting for Chika Goto to come out. And Chika Goto comes out, and she's basically deep breathing, readying herself. And then she basically screams into the camera and just marches into the ring. And what happens, Matt, for 9 minutes is that Chika Goto basically gets kicked around the ring like a football. I'm not joking. Some of those kicks from Takumi Iroha sounded like legitimate cannon fire. And Chika Goto continues to get up. And she gets up. And she gets up, and that fighting spirit. This Korakuen crowd, by the way, there may have been 680 people in there. It sounded like double that during this main event. They were so into this match. She summons all of this energy. She's firing up. Eventually, she gets put away with the running 3, which, by the way, Takumi Iroha making eye contact with the Marigold roster before hitting it.
Genius.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But Chika Goto, we've talked many, many times across the thousands of hours of podcasts that we've done about it's not losing, it's how you lose. Chika Goto lost in the best possible way because who are you talking about coming out of that main event? Chika Goto. That performance. And that goes without saying, the incredible 2 back-to-back exchanges between Natsumi Shozuki and Maria and Meiko Aono and Riko Kawahata, because that match there, those 10 minutes, that legitimately on its own would have been 4 3/4 stars. But this match, the structure of it, the storytelling of it, it reminded me in a way of the Thunder Queen match between JWP and All Japan Women's. It was from 1993, and it is a 60-minute basically Iron Woman match. And the way that's structured, very different matches, obviously, but the way that was structured reminded me of the way that this was structured. There was storytelling. Every single person had their own story in this match. It wasn't just about who's going to win, Marigold or Marvelous. Kazuna Tanaka had her own story going in. Chika Goto had her own story, that desire to prove herself. She's nominated herself as team captain, is the last person standing against Takumi Iroha, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Meiko Aono and Riko, they're past. You know, they took, again, the commentary team did a fantastic job during this show. That passed between those two. The fact that Meiko Aono is still on Riko's Twitter header. You know, all of these things. Maria and Natsumi Shozuki going the 10 minutes. just throwing everything at each other. And it was quite funny actually watching, because you just had Rhea Sato eliminated by Maria, and Natsumi basically storms to the ring as though she's taken personal offense at the fact that Maria has had the audacity to eliminate Rhea Sato. Honestly, this match was structured perfectly. Everything about it was structured perfectly. The exchanges were great. Every single woman came out of it feeling better, seeming better. And Matt, I gave it the full 5 stars.
Wow.
I absolutely loved this match. And if I did a top 5 Joshi matches, which I know you do, check it out on YouTube. It's great. This would be number 3. Any other week, it would be number 1. But obviously, with All Star Grand Queendom, this was number 3 for me, behind Mayu and Syuri and Tam and Saya. This was beautifully executed. Absolutely magnificent. Well done, Marigold.
Cheap plug for the newest segment on the YouTube channel. This actually, because I do it Saturday to Saturday. So this was number 2. My number 1 was Io, Bianca, and
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
This one actually beat out the mini Queen's Quest reunion of Azumi, Saya Kamitani versus Starlight, because I liked it that much. And I think we made mention that these were back to back within 24 hours, because I think this was a Friday show and Stardom was a Thursday show. Again, folks, you don't have to have tribalism. You can like what you like. If you like Stardom and Marigold and you live in the area, you literally could. And there may have been people that were at both shows. So good on you, because you enjoyed 2 great nights of wrestling in the same building. Partner, real quick, you said this match was 26 minutes. I think was it 46? Because I know 2 went to the time limit draws. I think it was longer.
Let me just check. It was longer than that. No, let me. You carry on with your review. I'll find the actual time, because I
will get my one little negative out of the way here, and maybe it's because of all the great wrestling we've been spoiled with over the last few years. We did not get Meiko Ano versus Takumi Iroha. That it was a little thing that I really. But I was ready to say maybe they're saving it for a singles match, because obviously we have Magenta coming back. Obviously I know you were in Vegas and you were texting me, can you give me your predictions for this match so I can put it up on the website? And you had Team Marigold winning. I'm like, Team Marigold not only there's no way they should win, because we need to continue this feud. If Marigold wins on match 1 in a Marigold ring, where do we go from here? It's pretty much dead. I mean, you might be able to pull something up, but it's pretty much dead. Team Marvelous need to win this. But they won, but you made 2 stars on the Marigold side.
Absolutely.
And again, Sonny and Stu did a great job saying, Chica Goto, there's no go Chica. Like, she is all business here. She is all business. And Kazuna Tanaka was dead set. Like, I'm starting. I don't care what anybody says. I am starting. The heck with your game plan. I am starting. She goes on to have not 1, not 2, but 3 great matches to start. She's the biggest star coming out of this. And again, obviously, we know quite a bit of Takumi Iroha. We don't get to watch her wrestle as much as we'd like, but now it looks like we are going to. And again, all for that. Again, she had a great match at the Marvelous show in Vegas. We'll talk about that later in this week. Obviously, I hear a lot about how great Ryoko and Maria are as Team Magenta, and we've seen a little bit of that. I believe Sora is a rookie, and I think Ihozan is basically not too far along into her career. And they were great at the Marvelous show as well. They were great here. And you're absolutely right. I liked how Natsume Shozuki basically almost storms the gate. Like, how dare you do your job and win your match? How dare you do that on my watch?
It was so imposing. It was great.
There are so many future things they have set up in this match. And again, we are getting Magenta getting a tag title shot. And I really hope that they get said belts, because you can literally go to Celine Flora getting a tag title shot. You can get with Meiko Ano and Natsume Shizuki possibly getting a tag title shot. Maybe Chika Goto and Manami Yuki getting a title shot. There's a lot of different ways they can go about it for them winning the belts. And again, we've seen outsiders before win belts back in the old Rossi Ogawa Stardom days, when Meiko Satomura won the red belt. That seemed to work out really well for Stardom. When she was there, that did okay. We got some really good matches there. And I really hope that Magenta do win the belts coming up here. I believe that shows that's this Korakuen show, right?
Magenta versus Nanae and Sari. No, it's 10th in Osaka.
So 2 weeks. So again, I thought everybody looked really great here. The main thing was you had 2 new stars born in Kazuna Tanaka and Chikagoto on a loss. But you're absolutely right, partner. I had it in my notes. It's the little things in wrestling that I love. When Takumi Raha goes to hit the running three and was just like, watch this. And there's nothing that you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to win the main event match, pinning your new prep project in Chikagoto in your ring, in your building, Korakuen Hall. And I'm going to do it with my running three, and I'm going to do it right in the middle of the ring, and there's nothing you can do about it. What a statement that was, not only for Team Marvelous, but Takumi Iroha. So now, Rob, we have all, and we've been saying the last 3-4 months, especially that now people are coming back from injury. Horia Soto, she's terrific. Kazuna Tanaka is great. Oh my God, Victoria Yuzuki's like a completely different wrestler. We know Utami, Mirai, and Sakurai is great, but all these wrestlers starting to pick themselves back up. Now we're adding Marvelous in. Now we're adding Jungle Kiona in. Now we may or may not be adding Mayu in. Like, wow, this company feels really, really special. Everything just seems to be happening at the right time where everybody's improving. The crowds are really into everything. The crowds are really starting to pick up as far as attendance goes. I know this one's a little bit lower because, again, as you said, there's no championship matches, but still a really great show. Almost 700 people, and now we're having everybody improving. And then you may be getting a Kokiyamare back as well. They're literally hitting everything at the right time as we're going to be getting into tournament season. And that is going to be nothing but terrific. Again, this was great. I like that we're adding Marvelous in here. I had it 4.5 stars. I totally see your 5-star thing. I totally see. I had it 4.5 stars. More Marvelous, please. We are getting more Marvelous. And this just goes to show you when companies work together that ultimately it's us that win because Marigold is working with Marvelous. So far, we're 1-for-1. This looks great. And Walker said it on commentary just the other night. Sendai Girls and Stardom working together, maybe the best pairing in all of wrestling. That seems to be working well because we're getting Miko Wada in and Shiro Hashimoto in. When these companies work together, it means business for all the companies involved. Wrestlers even losing, like the Marvelous Girls made sure they took care of Chikagoto. They made sure that they took care of Kazuna Tanaka. They knew, when this match was booked, we're going to win, but let's take care of the other girls and make sure they look good. And obviously, Miko Anno, Ria Sato, and Natsumi, they look great as well. But the main thing was Kazuna Tanaka and Chikagoto. When they decide to run some of these matches back, who does not want to see Kazuna Tanaka have a singles match with Sayora? Or who does not want to see Kazuna Tanaka have a singles match with Sanka, who wasn't in this match? She wasn't in this match at all. And obviously, she had one of the best matches on WrestleMania weekend with Aja Kong. Who wouldn't want to see that? There's so many possibilities that are opened up by this relationship with Marvelous. And again, Jungle Kiona, Kokiyamare coming back, possibly Mayu. Unbelievable. I mean, Marigold, they really feel like they are just a few weeks away of really, really popping off something big. Again, especially if they're bringing in Mayu. If they are bringing in Mayu, Rob, you gotta pull the trigger. They went 1-for-1 in 2020. Takumi Rohan, Mayu. We gotta have that rubber match. And again, Sonny and Stu they will talk about it on commentary if they are doing commentary for that show because they're great on it. They will talk about the history, how in 2020 when Mayu was red belt champion, they had a singles match, non-title. Takumi won, and then because Takumi did win that match, they did a rematch for the red belt, and Mayu won. To this day, me and you go back and forth on what match was better. They're both 5 stars. What match was better? And that was 5 years ago. Mayu is a better wrestler now. Takumi's a better wrestler now. Can you imagine what gangbuster business that would do for Marigold and Marvelous? Ultimately, this was my second favorite match of the week. Obviously, I told you my number one was for the reasons, if you saw it, you saw it at WrestleMania. But this is one of the best matches Marigold has had in a Korakuen Hall. This was terrific, and I like the actual sports feel to this. There was no BS. There was no cheating. It was just what team is better, who can outlast who. This was great. Like I said, brother, 4.5 stars, and that's awesome that you gave it the full 5.
And that brings to an end what was 3 blowaway shows, really, because that first show in Shin-Kiba, those last 3 matches were absolutely fantastic. If you haven't already, I actively encourage you to check out both Nanae's produce show and that Korakuen Hall show, and also the last 3 matches, that Shin-Kiba show. Marigold really does feel like it's on a roll. Just before we head to a gaze at Julia. Marigold have got a slew of shows coming up. I know that they did the 26th and the 27th, but they haven't gone up on Wrestle Universe as of yet. They have got shows on the 29th of April, and then the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of May. So I'm going to quickly whip through those cards now. The 29th of April, which is going to be from the Radiant Hall, Kanagawa. So that's tomorrow as we're recording it, is live on Wrestle Universe. The show is as follows: Hummingbird versus Riara, Minami Yuki, Nagisa Takibana, and Ryoko Sakimura against Chiaki, Megaton, and Gigaton. You've then got Chikagoto, Natsumi Shozuki, and Miko Aono. That's a trio I want to see a lot. Versus Victoria Yuzuki, Kazuna Tanaka, and Ria Sato. Again, if we're looking at factions, those two teams as different factions, I'd be down. Mai Sakurai teaming with Chan Yota against Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki. And then in what is currently slated to be your main event, Utami and Komomo Minami versus Mirai and Seri Yamaoka. Moving on to the 3rd of May, we have got Hummingbird and Ryoko Sakimura. Sorry, this is coming from Act City, Hamamatsu. Hummingbird and Ryoko Sakimura against Nagisa Takibana and Riara. We've got Miko Aono and Kazuna Tanaka versus Chika Goto and Komomo Minami. Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki against Misa Matsui and Chiaki. That could be very, very good. Of course, we already know that there is a white belt match coming up the day after at Korakuen Hall between Mai Sakurai and Misa Matsui. We've then got 6-woman tag, Nanae and Seri and Ria Sato versus Nagisa Nozaki, Megaton, and Gigaton. And then the tag match, Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Minami Yuki. We've already run through the card. Sorry. Easy for me to say, with the Korakuen Hall show. But again, 3 big matches you need to, well, 4 actually. Let's put Miko Aono and Kazuna Tanaka in there because, oh yes, absolutely. Mai Sakurai and Misa Matsui for the untitled Passion Countdown, Nanae Takahashi versus Thekla.
Oh, you said that such certainty.
Just checking if you're listening.
Oh, look at that.
Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Seri Yamaoka. We've then got the show from the 5th, 3-way match, Minami Yuki versus Ryoko Sakimura versus Chiaki. Misa Matsui versus Nagisa Takibana. Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka, Celine Flora teaming once again. Don't feel like we've seen a lot of that actually since Kazuna Tanaka's come back. They're going to be teaming against Chika Goto and Komomo Minami. Utami Hayashishita, Mai Sakurai, and Riara. They're going to be teaming against Nagisa Nozaki, Megaton, and Gigaton. And then again, in what is currently slated to be your main event, Seri Yamaoka, Nanae Takahashi, and Ria Sato versus Miko Aono, Natsumi Shozuki, and Hummingbird. That is in Kurihara City in Miyagi. And then on the 6th, Sendai Pit, once again in Miyagi, we have got Nagisa Takibana, Minami Yuki, and Hummingbird. They're going to be teaming against the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui, Gigaton, and Megaton. We've got Komomo Minami and Chika Goto, teaming up against Ryoko Sakimura and Riara. Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki, a team I'd be very interested in seeing on a full-time basis against Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. That's a match to keep your eye on. Miko Aono versus Ria Sato in singles action. And then in your main event, 6-woman tag, Utami Hayashishita, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka. King's Journey in full force there against Nanae Takahashi, Mirai, and Seri Yamaoka. I know I've whipped through all of those cards, but they are available to view on Marigold's official website and, of course, on their Twitter. But Matt Turner, it is time, my friend, almost 3 hours into this podcast, to gaze at Julia, my friend.
Gaze at Julia. Just a little hint why you should tune in to our complete Vegas review. Our Gaze at Julia will start at Monday at WWE World. Just a little sprinkle as myself and Rob did meet one Julia. And we may or may not have done the Donald Del Mundo pose with her. You will have to tune in later on this week to find out. But our main Gaze at Julia. we have Io and Steph Facker, an impromptu match, a match that I didn't think we would have the day after WrestleMania. These two had a phenomenal match, and then is ruined by Roxanne Perez and Julia, the bitter enemies. They were supposed to be enemies, but all of a sudden they decide absolutely not. We don't like Io. We don't like Steph Facker because the fans like them. They beat down Io and Steph Facker until one Rhea Ripley comes out and makes the save. So Big Davey Meltzer did report that Julia will more than likely appear on Monday Night Raw tonight. It looks like she has moved up from NXT to the main roster, and obviously her time in NXT wasn't that long. I think they realized really quick what they had in her. Not only a great wrestler, but just a really charismatic person that has a lot of eyes, I think. And a shout out to our man Darren Chatton. Again, Darren, I hope my chop to Rob in the parking lot, I hope I said the right thing as I hit him. And
cheers for that, Darren.
Our new tradition, as much as Rob said, it is not a tradition.
Not a tradition.
Not a tradition. Whack. He would always make mention to me that the Julia segments, whether they were whether it was an in-ring interview or a match, her segments were always the highest rated from NXT for that week. And it was like by quite a bit of amount of viewers. So they probably saw that and said, let's put her up to the main roster. So again, Dave Meltzer, obviously two main things that he will probably have right that we talked about today is the fact that Julia will be on WWE moving up to the main roster on Monday Night Raw, and the fact that Mayu will be going to NXT as Mayu Sane Sky. So
amazing.
I mean, and again, it's if Julia is doing a program with either Steph Facker or Io on the main roster with the Roxanne Perez, or if she is doing something with Rhea Ripley, I mean, that's great. The fact that Julia and Io in a program, that's a dream. That's a dream, buddy.
Who are we to complain?
Nobody.
And ladies and gentlemen, that does bring to an end an extended episode of the Marigold Standard. Lots and lots to talk about. Again, check out the website Talk Joshi for all of the news coming out of both Stardom and Marigold. I'm sure there'll be a lot coming up over the next couple of weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, consider subscribing on the podcast app of your choice. We are literally everywhere. If you could leave us a 5-star review and a comment, that really helps us out as well, helps us be exposed to even more people. You can also check out patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, where you can get all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 solitary a month, as well as literally thousands of hours of bonus content as well. Check out the website, talkjoshi.com, for all of our archived episodes, as well as all of the news, reviews, stats, histories, and all of that good stuff from both Marigold and Stardom. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, apart from on Instagram, Threads, and indeed Blue Sky, where you can find us at Talk Joshi. You can find me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, please sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner LF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Blue Sky, and the TikTok as well. If you want to get a hold of me via the email system, that is not a problem. I'm going to tell you what the email address is, and Rob's going to help you tell you what the email address is. The email address, folks, simply is the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when we're all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.